Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the 32nd episode of Double Feature Horror Show and the final episode of the Jack the Ripper arc. This is going to be an interesting one. I think we've discussed things and we've got many a thought. And I'm also interested because this film seems to have quite a fair few, should I say, fans? A lot of people were interested in it. A lot of people were super keen that we cover this film. So you're enthusiastic in one way or another, and that's all that matters to me. But we do not have that crime guy tonight. He's looking after family, but we are joined by what are you going by tonight?
Wholesome Ripper.
Wholesome Ripper. Okay, yeah. Wholesome Waifu is here. Wholesome Waifu was originally scheduled to be on this episode to give the overview of the Whitechapel Murders. And then we kind of realized, is that a little bit weird? Is that odd for us to start the final stream with the actual history of the murders? We thought that was maybe a bad idea. So we bumped Wholesome Waifu up to the very first episode we did on the Ripper arc, The Lodger. But we thought, bring you back, seeing as you sat through From Hell with me.
Indeed, for my sins. And Right Honourable Fez, that's an excellent update to the name. I am now the Wholesome Bodice Ripper.
Oh, yes. Nice. Very nice. And we're also, of course, joined by Haryan. How you doing, sir?
Hello, what up, my drillers? I'll be concentrating more as soon as I'm done with this bit in Zelda.
The absolute state.
Look, this boss took a little longer than I thought it would, alright? I'm just finishing off the cutscene.
Are you literally cucking us with Zelda?
Look, I just got the fire medallion, alright? There's more important things from hell at this point.
Well, I will leave you with that for the moment.
Saving the planet.
To be fair, I'd rather watch that than From Hell.
There you go. She cringes every time I'm on stream. Like,
I like Tash. I think we want more Tash on the streams.
Oh,
hey, good to see everyone in chat. I'd think I'll get a few things out of the way. There is one thing I believe I am contractually obliged to start sharing, as I did promise I would. Tash, you know what's coming. There's a lot to cover. There is a heck of a lot to cover. One of them is new arrivals in the Horror Show household. Is this? It's a little chick.
Is this some hot chick action?
Oh yeah, chicks on stream. Absolutely. This is a lovely little lavender pecan that came a little bit early, arrived on Saturday. I know there's some people are here for the politics, some people are here for the horror films. There's a sizable demographic who is here for chicken news, and I don't want to disappoint you guys. This little bipper here does not have a name as of yet. We're going to wait to see,
if he lives.
I mean, no reason to assume anything bad, but just it's a hard knock life as a young chick, and it's not just that lovely lad. We do also have one. I've got a photo of one of their siblings. So that's a regular pecan just come out. Look at him. Door. So that what?
Do you have the video?
Women.
Or not?
4 days old. I do have the video, but it's I'm going to edit together a special chick highlights, and I think we can do a full chick intro next week and just play like a minute of chick footage while people are rolling in. What do you reckon?
That's very important.
One of these chicks is going to have to be called Mochi, though. We're pretty sure of that. I'm seeing chick love in the chat, guys. Thank you. I'm glad you appreciate them. Something else that's very much appreciated is we made it to 1,000 subscribers. That was absolutely
nice,
fantastic. Yeah, we're chuffed. We're chuffed. I know.
Yes, Queen.
Yeah, I'm just reliving the glory days of the awful drag queen stream.
Yes.
Why would you remind people of that?
I like that stream. I was surprised that people came for. If this is confusing you guys, we did a special stream, very off-brand, extremely rogue, sneaky as all heck, on RuPaul's Drag Race. Not perhaps something you'd expect a James Burnham fan and horror film fanatic to go for. But we've watched a heck of a lot of RuPaul's Drag Race, and it's very interesting the sort of scandals it's got into and how the show has been sort of made to change. And so we thought we'd do a stream on that. I didn't know if anyone would watch it, but it was quite popular. And it got blocked in the UK for having footage that the show is very desperate to make sure doesn't get out. Would you say that's fair, Wholesome Wifey?
Yes, it's we went down a deeply transphobic and traumatizing avenue, and I don't think I'll ever recover from the horror of some people making moderately polite jokes about people's knees.
Yes, it was interesting. What that copyright claim, one of several that were posted on the stream to shut it down. They are still up, but when they finish, I will re-promote the stream so you can enjoy it, because I think it turned out weird but quite interesting, and I know a fair few people appreciated it. But I shouldn't delay us too much longer, because, to be honest, there is someone who doesn't appreciate us going on too long, and that is Super Nanny.
Oh my God, what's she gonna do? Oh no.
She's there. She has devised a test to see who among us is actually planning on streaming past 10:30, and she's taking no prisoners whatsoever.
Jeez, is that a
What film
flamethrower?
is that?
Yes. Haryan, do you recognise this film?
Have I seen it? I don't. Oh,
Go on, chat. Go on. Chat will set you right.
I'm trying to work it out too.
Oh, really? Okay.
I can't tell what that is.
There we go. We got it. We've got
What?
it.
Is
Alexa.
it Among Us?
Nailed it. Yes.
Oh.
I've never seen The Thing. That explains why I don't know.
No,
what it
that's
is.
Are
fine.
there people tied up in the thing?
Heck yeah.
I need to watch it again.
It's
clearly.
amazing. Yeah. Oh, we will get to. We will
Is
absolutely
this a
get
remake
to.
or is this the OG John Carpenter?
This is the middle one. This is this
there's
is
more than one.
the I don't know the year. 1980s version of The Thing. So that's the remake of The Thing from Another World, but not the sneaky prequel from 2011.
So this is the one with John Carpenter and the dog in the snow.
Yes, that's the one.
So in theory, I've seen it.
Ooh.
Sorry.
Oh,
every
thank you,
time I'm on
Alexa.
here, I end up-
It's okay. We got 1981 sci-fi horror arc. When? Funny thing you said that, Fez. Sci-fi horror arc is the next but one, and this is a Haryan suggested one, and I think it's a fantastic suggestion. So we're going to focus on sci-fi horror of the 70s, because frankly, there's a lot of sci-fi horror, and I don't want to kind of just like lock off the topic and the area. So I think it's better if we do like 70s sci-fi horror. We'll do something else, and then we'll probably go back for your 80s and then your 90s sci-fi horror, because there's so much cool stuff, and I really want to cover it, frankly.
God, I
So-
hope Predator counts.
Oh, I think
Yeah.
chat. Does Predator count as sci-fi horror? Can I have a? I don't know. Yes, just give me a yes if we can sneak Predator in, or we have to go rogue on it. We can always do a rogue stream on it. You know.
What
Yeah,
about
I-
Alien?
Well, Aliens. We're doing Alien for the 70s, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alien is the start.
70s.
79, yeah.
1979. Yeah.
Oh, good lord.
Yeah, that's why we stuck in it. Look, if it wasn't, we'd have to do like Aliens and Alien in the same thing, and then there's you're basically just doing the Alien series, so it's very handy. Ooh, controversy years. I don't know, man. It's many genres.
I mean, I've never seen it, but from the clips I've seen, it's pretty horrific. I just need to see a film with Carl Weathers in. I've seen Arrested Development too many times to not have seen a Carl Weathers film.
Not. I mean, I don't know why I'm even asking, but not even the Rockies.
I've never seen a Rocky film.
Oh my god! I love you, Harry. And
I'm a Zoomer. Who's Destiny's Child?
Disgraceful.
Disgusting.
Oh man. Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. It's fine. I can live with that. But I mean, this makes it kind of interesting moving into our topic, which I really should. Otherwise, we will invoke the wrath of Super Nanny. Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. Terminator is totally a horror movie. Okay, yes, we might have to have you on for that one.
Well, Terminator 1 maybe, but Terminator 2 is probably more action than horror than Predator. But yeah, I've never seen either. The only Predator, the only Terminator I've seen is Terminator Genesis.
Oof.
Yeah.
Big oof.
I don't know what's Khaleesi's real name called again.
Emilia Clarke.
Yeah, I don't know why she keeps getting acting jobs. She's not very good.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a few things that appeal about her.
Well,
what? She's got a lovely plum accent. They're giving her rom-com roles last time I looked.
Oh God, that's what happened to Hayden Christensen after the Star Wars films.
Yeah, true. Did you know what he's doing right now?
Porn?
Oh God, you wish.
Hang on. Yeah, we're going to have to sit and analyse this wholesome wifey. Tell me more about your Anakin slips it in thoughts. What's going on?
He was an early celebrity crush of mine.
Why?
I don't know. I had to be honest, Chloe's seen my taste in men. It's doubtful. It's a good job I ended up with women.
Guys, we're just going to have to hold the stream for a second. This is a deep vein of information that has never been explored. Carry on. Tell us more.
I liked Hayden. He looked like a girl.
I mean, that might explain a lot. I mean, Chloe, I have the keys to mutually assured destruction. Do you really want to?
That is fine. That is fine. Yeah.
Oh my God, he's Canadian as well. I didn't know he was Canadian.
Oh no,
he's Canadian.
He's Canadian. He's from Vancouver.
And he's called Hayden.
Oh, what a bellend.
I don't see the appeal. I mean, I think he's coarse. He's irritating,
and he gets everywhere.
Oh well.
Maybe that's what you want him to do.
Oh God.
Family-friendly stream.
All right, Josh
he's a farmer now. Apparently, last I heard, Hayden Christensen is farming.
That's more. I mean,
very based.
What? That's pretty cool. He took the carrot pill.
Based.
Well,
all right.
God, don't get me started on the carrot pill. Bloody Luddites.
It's a very catchy song about it, so I hear somewhere on the internet.
So yeah.
Okay, all right. We should probably actually bring it back on topic, which is just a really simple one, because I think this could be a deep discussion on the film. Halloween 2021 plans. How do I raised this? Because I sort of, this is kind of my spooky Christmas. This is something I really look forward to. I aim for a triple bill of horror, and I basically sit there. I'm just planning it for quite a few weeks in advance, just trying to get it right. I even made I made a fairly in-depth. You know, I'm gonna get the image up, to be honest. I made a fairly in-depth video. When was it? Last year on Halloween, on how to plan your Halloween night movie schedule and get it perfect.
Yeah, that was the first video you also actually watched as well.
Oh, nice.
Because you sent it me, and you're like, oh, how does this look? How do I improve and stuff like that? I don't know why you sent it me, given I put minimal effort into editing. I'm just there like, yeah, keep going with that. It'll work. Trust me.
And 1 year later.
Oh, there you go. My advice worked out. What can I say?
Exactly, flawless. Yeah, that is how we started. Yeah, so my idea of it is basically a triple night. Pizza is obligatory. You've got to have the pizza. There's no way around it. Yeah, there's no way around it. Pizza is non-negotiable. You can't be having a food that you need to sort of observe. You got a movie to watch. You've got 3 movies to watch. Yeah.
Like, careful you don't drop it, I guess.
Yeah. Do you want to be looking
away. You're
down?
a vegan. That's not an issue.
One that, two. Wait, I mean, you must be having really shit pizza if the cheese isn't sliding off, and you need to like do a two-hander. Wait, I mean, do you get it takeout or do you make it yourself? Because I know Papa John's does vegan.
They do it. It's all right. That is me planning the films.
Pretty much, literally.
There's a system. There's a formula to it. A very simple formula. If we're getting our Scream references in early, I'm like, you gotta take the gamble with the first film, you know, because if that goes bad, it's fine. You got 2 more. You take your risks. You throw in something crazy for the first film, then you go pretty extreme for the second, and then you do a bit of crowd pleaser for the final one. That's a good time for your horror comedies, you know.
Didn't work out so well the year we chose to watch the Serbian film, which was our middle hard hitter. And to be honest, by the end of that, we just switched over to the trashiest of trash TV we could find, because that.
Yeah. Yeah, Serbian film was a bit much. Good ending though. Good ending to it. Properly
not
unsettling.
So much a happy ending.
No, not so much. Not so much, alas. And last year it didn't go well at all, did it? We couldn't get our hands on the first one that I'd actually planned on, and then the one we watched for the Extreme was a French Extreme called Frontière, and it was absolutely awful.
Incestuous Nazis. Sorry, incestuous Germans from the mid-century.
Did you know mid-century Germans are bad? It's like, oh, thanks, film. You're meant to sympathise with the worst people on the earth, because the people they're up against are like the most cartoon of cartoon mid-century Germans. It's so awful. And I'm just watching it thinking, this is terrible. I want everyone to die. You're all awful people.
I kind of came out of it on the side of the family of incestuous mid-century Germans, which is not something you want to be happening.
Yeah, I mean, it was bad enough they're mid-century Germans, but they were also French.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
There's only so much.
So much worse.
I know, it's terrible.
They're not even German mid-century Germans.
Yeah. Oh dear. So that was seriously, Frontière was absolutely awful. I really quite like French Extreme. I mean, some of the ones I always recommend, like the classic Martyrs, obviously, but À l'intérieur, really good stuff. Haute Tension, very good. And so I was kind of running out of them, so I went for Frontière because I'd heard it talked up and it was absolutely awful. So,
well, it sounds French.
It's
I think you do need to do a French Extreme arc at some point just to see what Haryan says.
I'll hate every second of it.
Truly, in the best way.
Well, I don't know if it'll be funny if it'll just be me for 3 weeks ranting about the French and how we need to be at war with them because we've still got income tax.
Haryan, look, income tax was a temporary measure. I was assured of this when it was passed.
It was temporary, and it was to fight the French. So if we've still got income tax, by law, we should be fighting the French.
It's a temporary measure by what? Glacial time?
No, even slower by governmental time.
Oh God.
Nothing is permanent as a temporary measure. What can they say? So yeah, that's what we're aiming to do. I am still finalizing it, basically. But I asked you what you're planning for.
Yeah, French horror. Oh, you'll love to see it.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah, you asked my plans, and my plans for Halloween generally are I mean, when I was a kid, I'd go out trick or treating. Then when you get to uni, it was Halloween parties. They were usually a massive piss up. That's always fun.
Naturally.
Yeah, I think at one of those, I took my top off and olive oil was poured all over me. We had 3 litres of it. That was quite fun.
This
They weren't
is
really
going...
horror parties.
I think this is more disturbing than the Anakin bit.
Yeah, we were very drunk. I was skinnier back then, so it wasn't as offensive either. But yeah, that was kind of my uni plans, and then ever since then, I've not really done much. I mean, there was a year where a bunch of friends came over and they watched me play Outlast. That was quite fun. Didn't really have plans the year after. Last year I streamed Soma, actually, the first part of Soma.
And there's something notably missing from these. They're not watching horror films.
No, I'm playing horror games or doing horrific acts in front of my housemates.
I'm being covered in oil.
Just out of interest, chat, how many of you have fired up Pixlr and are shooting furiously at them as we speak? just out of interest.
I mean, look, even my girlfriend's feeling ill at the thought of me covered in oil. So imagine how it was for the people who saw it.
I think Chloe and I met at a Halloween party. Possibly.
Don't. Let's not help biographers.
No.
So, I was sort of hoping that I would have had some impact on you, and you'd be sat there and I'm so inspired by everything Proper Horror Show says. I want to watch some movies. I want to watch 3 movies.
So there's I'm not going to go that. I can barely watch 1 movie in a day. But okay, so 1, I'm more of a gamer anyway. So if I'm going to do anything, I'd stream, a horror game, by Amnesia or something like that. 2, I'm actually on a stream that night on British Nights channel talking about a classical liberals enough to make a change, and I thought I'd be kind of pro classical liberal there. So that might be a horrific showing up there. I don't know why I didn't take a break for Halloween. And 3, assuming I'm seeing Tash that weekend, we might do it a day early, but she's really bad with horror films and doesn't like to watch them.
That's the best person to watch a horror film with.
Yeah, but
we're all jaded
in this situation.
Yeah,
true.
I'm jaded, Haryan. I can't feel anything.
Well, the problem is if I end
have
up
to live vicariously through other people.
Yeah, but if me and Tasha like watching a horror film, she won't watch the screen for half the time. She'll be like, "Oh my god, something's gonna happen." I might specifically choose one with a lot of statues in as well. Then she just won't look at the film at all.
Oh, I can give recommendations. We can build up a number of them.
Yeah, there you go.
You could go classic. Go the original Haunting. Very good stuff.
Yeah, true. I mean, well, this is the thing with me. If I was ever on EFAP and they asked me the age-old question they always do I prefer Halloween or Christmas? I'm a big old Christmas boy. Given that Halloween is an Americanization that has been imported over here and is ridiculous and needs to be gotten rid of.
What do you get smothered in for Christmas, out of interest?
Presents.
Goose fat?
Ew.
No, that's for. It's too old. The chicken jokes now. I can't.
Yeah, exactly.
Boo, boo me. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not that interesting when it comes to Halloween, but it's a ridiculous Americanization.
I'm in the weird position of we've got this. It is adorable around me. We do get trick or treaters because we don't live in London, so they won't get shanked anymore. But I'm kind of torn because I want to be seriously watching my movies, darn it. And I don't know, the idea of having to interrupt the film to go and see some trick or treaters, I'm just gonna be like, take your Milky Way and sod off, you little buggers. Maybe it's the wrong routine for me,
Do an honor system where you have a big bowl saying please take 1, and people will take 2, but do you care?
No, I want movies. I want the tradition, but I also want movies.
Originally, she was talking about setting up a series of pranks inside the house and then inviting people in. I'm not entirely sure of the ethics of just inviting random children into the house.
Yeah,
that'd be great. Like set up like a fortune teller thing.
Is it great?
Yeah,
it's a bit noncy, isn't it?
Set it up to traumatize kids. It'd be fantastic. But
I mean, I suppose it's
a movie night for me, and we need 2 Halloweens.
Oh, come in, watch Scream. Something that's clearly too old for you. Oh dear.
As if the certificates. Yeah, we are going to have to do one topic on, are the age certificates 100% pointless? Like, has the BBFC just completely failed in its mission over and over again? And the answer is yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Dear. So yeah, go on.
Fez, don't go the Candyman route. No, of course not. Of course not. Trust me. I know. It appeals to me to try and do something proper scary for them. But I might end up on a list, so. I did have a joke like that in the original video about planning your Halloween night movies. So, I'd highly recommend that one, guys. If you go in my if you look at my channel for like how to kill it this Halloween, I think is the name. Watch that. I'm quite happy about it. There's a lot of silly things in that one.
I had to film her running around the park, pretending to tempt children. It was an odd afternoon.
It was a very. It's like, it seems like a good idea until you're literally sitting in a playground with a sign saying free candy, and then you're like, oh god, what am I doing?
You could have folded a bit up and had like, oh, free candy, and then, you know, the little foldy bit comes out and it says Candy Man, free Candy Man, you know.
Was he profiled or something?
More than likely. Okay. Well, he was in the story, wasn't he? You know, he had relations with the woman.
The daughter. He actually did it. You know, he was guilty.
Yeah.
Should we?
So, yeah.
So I'm somewhat disappointed, Haryan. But if you're doing something vaguely scary, I'll.
Well, yeah.
I'll be happy. I can let that off.
Yeah, I'll probably do a stream of some horror game. I don't know if I'll buy one. Or I might play Stalker, actually. That's one of my favourite games of all time. It's really old, though. And it's a shooter, but it's very horrific.
I really want you to play Silent Hill. Especially Silent Hill 2.
I don't even think that's... there's Silent Hill Homecoming on PC.
Oh, no.
All right, never mind then.
Definitely not, I'm afraid. I played that. I was desperate for more Silent Hill games, and I went to Homecoming, and it just... No. 1 to 4, guys. 1 to 4. That's the Silent Hill sweet spot.
Or Five Nights at Freddy's.
I'm not playing that garbage.
Other people know this. Yeah, Yiz knows. Homecoming, terrible.
Yeah. Only 1, 2, or 3. Well, you know, I'm forced by what's on Steam, basically. Dying Light was supposed to be out by now. I would have played Dying Light 2 on stream, but it's not out. And I've got to wait for Stalker 2 for next year. There are 2 great horror games coming out, and they're coming out early next year, when it's like as far away from Halloween as it possibly can be.
Shameful. Absolutely shameful. Well, we should get into it, actually, because this is an interesting film. My goodness. How to approach From Hell. Well, I don't know. It's interesting, isn't it? It's an interesting one. But it's called a troubled production. Some reports say it was kind of in development hell. I think that's a bit of an exaggeration, because it seems like it was only about 3 years in the planning until the release in 2001. Like 3 years doesn't sound like a particularly bad development to me. Yes.
It's fair. Well, you can tell
do a
the
little
fans
euphemism.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm only just looking at the wiki now in production. I mean, this sounds horrendous. Like, they originally wanted Daniel Day-Lewis to play, but you couldn't. So they got Sean Connery, which is
that thing you're picking up on there. That is really important.
Yeah. Okay.
So no, it is. It is okay. So if you're approaching Sean Connery, Daniel Day-Lewis, and Johnny Depp for your character of Frederick Aberline, think about those three actors. What kind of writing do you have if all three of those actors are in consideration?
Crap.
Basically. Yeah. You need to write characters and then have particular actors in line. Like Daniel Day-Lewis obviously plays super serious roles. I couldn't imagine him in this.
No, he wouldn't go for it at all.
Well, I don't know, because he played he was in Gangs of New York, wasn't he? Or was it There Will Be Blood, where he's got the milkshake line?
It's There Will Be Blood. Like, he will do things that are a bit eccentric, but I think he wouldn't tolerate some of the issues with this film.
Yeah.
So we get the idea that casting was struggled. They had to replace the actor who played Jack the Ripper in this, so that was an issue. But
they ended on Bilbo Baggins.
Why Bilbo?
Bilbo Stabbins. Yes. I mean, we should get it out here, folks. As you know, we are going to talk about this film in depth, so we are going to be spoiling from hell in depth. How do you spoil a Jack the Ripper film? Don't we know exactly what's going to happen? Well, we kind of do. And the film is roughly kind of in line with the actual events, barring a few bits of absolute madness. But one of the things that From Hell does very, very clearly is that it names them. The suspect, that is. It's giving you a specific Jack. It's going off one fairly salacious theory, and it just leads in with that very obviously and sets it up basically all the way through, giving you all the elements for what's actually going on with Jack the Ripper before confirming who's actually doing the rippings kind of late in the game. So we will be naming Jack the Ripper fairly soon. I mean, we basically haven't we? So
Bilbo.
Yeah, it was Bilbo done it.
I'm not entirely sure it's the most historically accurate theory. Just putting that out there.
Well, I mean, this film seemed to go off like the historical arc in places. It seemed to go into historical fiction just a bit, only a tiny bit. Didn't try to keep it. I'm being sarcastic here. It went way off. It was.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, it could have made for an interesting story.
It did. I mean, so something obvious to state. I know not a lot of you will know this already. Is that it's an adaptation of a graphic novel by Alan Moore and Eddie Campbell. And Alan Moore is not the easiest person to adapt. Obviously, he's not going to be particularly happy with you adapting his work because he doesn't tend to do particularly straightforward stories. His work is very deeply layered, very subtle, and not always about the thing on the surface. Actually, Alexa, you've kind of got it there, to be honest. You've covered this. Something that Alan Moore is very clear about when you're reading the book is that he doesn't in any way believe in the conspiracy theory that he goes with as the basis of his version of the Jack the Ripper story. And I'm going to be paraphrasing him a bit here, but what he essentially is saying is that we're never going to know, you're never going to have proof, one way or another, of a definitive answer to who is Jack the Ripper and why did he do what he did. But that mystery gives you a sort of basis for exploring whatever it is you want to explore. So who you choose as a Ripper is very much just a springboard for you to cover any theme that you are interested in. And that's how he approaches it. So Alan Moore is interested in grand theories of elites and class structures of society and class conflicts, etc. That's what he's in. He comes from a sort of, I mean, there'd be refinements to the description, but effectively kind of liberal, anarchic, political base, basically. So he's very keen to show sort of oppressed groups and elite structures and a sort of cynical view of power. So that's very much what he has put into his vision of Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
So,
and it didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. But I think this film would require 2 watches to kind of pull out the threads and really see where the issues are.
Okay.
Because I mean, you know, why did the prostitutes have to be murdered? That was basically what I was asking throughout the film.
That's interesting.
Even when it was explained, I'm like, yeah, but they didn't know anything.
That is one of the complexities of it. Yeah, that's one of the issues in there. But yeah, it's useful to know that Alan Moore doesn't actually literally believe in the theory that is at the basis of From Hell, whereas I feel this adaptation is taking it rather straight-faced and is treating it as if that is the point of the story, if you get me.
Yeah.
So that's one of the key things. And I think this thing I've got on screen here as my first screenshot is kind of your giveaway. So the film opens with this. Is it a good sign if I'm pointing out as something to highlight as an issue the very first thing you see on screen? We haven't even got we're just getting the opening quotation here, and I've got a massive problem with it.
Well, what's wrong? What's wrong with it exactly? Is it a fake quote?
Yes.
Yeah. I thought
this is coming up as if there's like an official diary of Jack the Ripper, and this was plucked out of, you know, page 17, paragraph 2 of Jack the Ripper's "If I Did It." No, this is a quotation from Hell, attributed to their fictional version of Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
There's really nothing in there, like in the actual history of the Whitechapel Murders, to give you this
with
quote.
This line.
Yeah.
I mean, given the rest of the film, it's not really an issue because the whole thing's historical fiction. So I don't, you know, if they're making up quotes for him, it's like, well, yeah, making up everything about him. It doesn't really matter, in my opinion. Anyway.
Very much so. Very much so.
Yeah.
I thought it would be quite interesting.
It was a bit weird.
It. Now that, you know, we've done 2 other things, you've actually got a bit of a grounding in the actual history of Jack the Ripper. So you're going to know when it's being weird.
Yeah, true.
But on the other hand, you get shots like this.
Bits of the film kind of remind me of Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula in a way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It reminded me of Assassin's Creed.
I think the campness as well is probably... I mean, if I was going to be charitable, I'd say the campness is deliberate, but maybe not.
It's hard to tell. Like, I almost get the feeling like some of the actors know they're camping it up and others don't.
Yeah, it was... The actors' kind of performances were really weird in some points, just because some of them were taking it... Like, Johnny Depp seemed to be taking it quite seriously, and quite a few other people were just like, oh, this is bullshit.
The guy who plays Hagrid, whose name I can't remember.
Robbie Coltrane.
Yeah,
I thought he was he was totally taking the mick, right?
He just seemed completely like he was in a different film.
Oh my god, that was Hagrid?
Yes.
Oh my god, I don't recognise him without the beard.
For all we're gonna rip on the film, look, let's be honest,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. This film is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, I've got a love-hate relationship with it superficially. You got shots like this which are really good, and most of the kind of sets are really, really showing the time. But then obviously, I mean, everyone talks about it. The accents are just all over the place, especially from the two main characters.
Accents, yeah. I mean, it's not Natalie Portman in V for Vendetta, is it? I mean, I picked this up.
Yeah.
We've gone straight from the gorgeous, just really gorgeous, still looks fantastic today, shot of the skyline, and then we go on to Mary Kelly here, and you kind of have the problem. You have the problem of she looks very much like she's the star of a film, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of sort of grubby reality around her, but she's very clearly the star of the film.
Yeah, she's a bit too kind of clean cut and elegant and pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, her hair is too red. She's too good looking.
She'd be wearing a hat, probably. Maybe.
She's too brightly lit in contrast to everyone else. I mean, this is obviously directors being incredibly clear. This is who you pay attention to. Focus on this person, even if you don't really know Heather Graham. And she was well known, but she wasn't a megastar at this point. People probably knew her best from the second Austin Powers movie. Actually, when did that come out?
Who was she in that?
The
Spanish Academy, isn't it?
I believe it is. She wasn't that. I'm gonna get.
Can't believe you. I just don't remember.
Oh yes, so she was Felicity Shagwell in Austin Powers: The Spy Who Shagged Me. Shut up, man! I'm trying not to laugh. Don't make me laugh.
How can you not laugh?
It's nothing on Kate Blanchett in Austin Powers Goldmember as Dixie Normus.
Oh no! Is she?
Don't even. Anyway, so I kind of have the problem of this is very consciously cinematic in a way that is kind of making it hard to engage with the sort of gritty realism, a sort of trying to say take it seriously,
Well, and that's what I mean. In this scene, it was like she gets threatened by the guy following her, and it's like there's a whole knife up to her and everything. It's like it's not really camped up yet. So I'm like, wow, this tone's really serious. Wonder where it goes. But then, and you have that scene of Abeline smoking the opium at the start as well, and he's like seriously in a trance, and you're like, it leaves you feeling, wow, this is going to be a really serious film, probably, and then it's not.
Yeah,
it managed to sustain the tone for about 5 minutes and then kind of forgot what it was trying to be, is what it felt like to me.
Yeah, and then it was going all over the place with it.
I don't know if we want to cover it now because we're not. We might as well get it out of the way now. Actually, one of the things that when we say this is a very loose adaptation of From Hell, it is also an incredibly loose adaptation. I apologize, Kate Blanchett. Gwyneth Paltrow was Dixie Normus.
Wow.
I can't believe you forgot that.
I know. I've robbed Miss Paltrow of credit. So we're talking about this being a loose adaptation. Now, Alan Moore goes deeply into his history. He knows what he's doing, even as he consciously steers away to do an ahistorical theory, which is the one presented in this film. But this film, not only have we got a Frederick Abeline, who was a real person, of course. We have a unmarried Frederick Abeline. We have a much younger Frederick Abeline, and we've got a heroin addict, a laudanum addict, dragon chasing Frederick Abeline, who dies of an OD. Now, I just want to point out, for all the hey, let's take it seriously, guys. Real women were murdered here,
Yeah.
which I kind of like about Ripper films, when the good ones take it seriously, and it really sort of gives it a punch and a somber tone, and it grounds it and helps me get invested, and makes it a sort of more serious horror. For all the stuff to take the women seriously, I mean, you can kind of ask a question about what are you doing making the Frederick Aberline a heroin addict, you know?
Yeah, who's like a mystic, and it's like, oh, I see the murders. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, shut up.
Oh god, I did not even to mention. Oh yeah, he's psychic. Sorry,
That was
Yeah.
weirdly a more compelling accent than Johnny Depp's, to be fair.
You're welcome. That's the privilege of growing up in England.
Yeah.
Basically, it was Jack Sparrow, but with slightly less eyeliner.
Yeah, he sounded like Jack Sparrow as well. It was really annoying.
I think he can only do one English accent, and it's that.
Yeah, it's toning it down a little bit, but let's remember what we've gone through. So we have that beautiful sunset, then we have this lovely cinematic thing, but then the next thing we get is this sort of tonal clash, which I think this illustrates it really well. This tonal clash of them in the workhouse, and
why are they tied up on a bench? I was like, what the fuck? What if they need the toilet?
Maybe it's stop and go robbing, I think.
No, I think it's an accurate depiction of what sort of doss houses could be like. If you couldn't afford like a room, you could maybe pay a penny and get a seat on a bench. I think. I feel like that's the kind of detail they wouldn't have shoved in if it wasn't on some level accurate, maybe. But I'm now going to go on a Wikipedia deep dive and possibly apologise.
Yeah, this looked really weird to me.
I think it's to stop them sleeping on the floor, basically. You know, tie them together so they're kept in good order.
I just thought it was weird. I don't know how realistic it is, though. Yeah. Yeah, and then they're all getting ready for their prosy day out.
Yep, they're prosing it up, big style.
Yeah. God, one of the whores looked like Olivia Colman as well, but wasn't. That threw me off a bit.
It's that
one of the whores had a very strong jawline.
Yeah, it's an attempt to make it gritty, isn't it?
Yeah.
I found a brilliant picture of, like, actually an even worse, kind of doss house type situation than that. I don't know how I can share it because
can DM it to me.
It's amazing.
I've just realised you've got John Dee's avatar in the top right on his face. That is very classy.
There's a lot of treatment of women that Mr. D would approve of, and I have put him in as tribute.
Yeah.
Because why would I not?
Yeah. Also, yeah, I know this film isn't supposed to be realistic, but at the same time, I can't see a load of women being tied up on a bench for the night, even if they have paid for it.
There is a picture that hopefully.
Oh, that's a bit different, though, isn't it?
Maverick Hunter knows what's up.
Lemons?
You know there are a few in this area, and you should protect your lemon trees. I'm not gonna lie.
Let's beware the lemon whores. I've sent the link, Chloe, so hopefully you can find it.
Okay.
In the private chat.
Private chat. Okay, cool. I'll get that up. But this is just to illustrate the difference between the super cinematic, looking gorgeous, and now actually we're going to be really grimy and realistic, and it's sort of make you crikey. All right, I'll get that on stream. But
yeah, exactly. They genuinely weren't kidding.
All right, hang on, guys. Brace yourselves.
Well, they did.
Oh, I don't think Lenny Henry would advertise this, would he? No, shocking state of affairs.
It's a picture, apparently.
How do they get a wink of sleep? They must be knackered.
I mean, I guess 19th century London poverty was really shit, she says, in the understatement of the 21st century.
Of course, but, you know, there's lovely hay on the floor. Just lie on that, you know.
Rats, though, I guess.
Well, they'll never let you feet anyway.
See, you get a little bit of history with this channel, you know, and sometimes it's not the history of the BBFC. It's that added value we bring.
Well, there you go. This thing that looked weird to me turns out to be somewhat realistic. Then that's fair enough. Because they are dirt poor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alexa is right, and this is something they did do quite well. Like the number of times they're out on alcohol is very interesting. So we are talking prime Hogarth era. That is Gin Alley and Beer Lane, I believe.
Hogarth was earlier.
Was he? How much earlier
he was the 18th century.
Was he? I apologize.
Let me double check that, but I'm pretty sure. My English degree is useful for one.
Go for it. Okay, you find us when Hogarth's Gin Alley is, but the idea that there's specifically a gin usage issue is very true to life. Okay, so it is earlier. My apologies, but it's not like the issue cleared up, is it?
Yeah, in the 19th century, they were advertising or sort of recommending people use gin to quieten their babies down and get them to go to sleep and that kind of thing.
Totally.
Apparently, it worked like a treat.
It's somewhat sad to see, but it's not shy about showing how much they were drinking and how unpleasant some of them got. So Liz Stride in particular is just an out of control drunken.
Is that the lesbo?
Yes. You look into the history, and it's how can I say, these are not saints. Mary Kelly is not a saint. They were all heavy alcohol abusers. They were frequently in trouble with the law for being violent. They aren't dainty like the Mary Kelly we're presented. So it's interesting that they do include that. Now, this is hey, British Knight, good to see you, man. This is where we're getting our first sense of the grand conspiracy. After a quick bit of nookie.
Yeah, so the woman on the right is an ex-prostitute, and she's married into aristocracy, essentially. And she's just given birth to a new baby with her husband, who is called... Where is
Albert.
it?
She calls
it is
him
Albert.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the daughter's called Alice. And
this is a real woman, by the way. Yeah. It's a real woman.
Really?
Yeah.
Was she actually really
apparently?
Yes, she really existed.
Did she really shag the prince?
Well, this is where it goes a bit astray, you know.
So she possibly was. You don't have any proof that she didn't. But they do both get kidnapped. The baby gets taken away. And she's basically taken here to be interrogated. I can't really remember what they say to her here, to be honest.
They try and confirm who the father is, and she says she basically doesn't help them, basically.
Yeah.
But yes, this is the start of our trouble. I'm going to skip an image because it's just the aftermath of Adeline being taken from the opium den and woken up, and it's a bit annoying, frankly. And I'll skip straight to what happens to her.
Yeah, there's a big thing with a kind of doctor's surgery, and it's Victorian time, so there'd be a mass in the operating theatre. It would quite literally be an amphitheatre. And this evil surgery man is basically saying this woman is clinically insane. So to calm her down, we're going to lobotomize her. He opens holes in 3 places in her head, at the front and on the temples, and removes the front of her brain, essentially. Which makes her, well, you see her a bit later, and she is basically docile and doesn't remember anything.
Yeah, damages loads.
Yeah, because Victorian medicine was peak modern medicine, really. I think we should go back. No anaesthetic.
They carried on lobotomizing people way into the 20th century too.
Yeah, I don't know why he stopped.
Actually,
Make psychiatry great again.
Yeah.
On the anaesthetic front, they did. It was an era of great innovation. In fact, there was a very big sort of publicity campaign, as it were, to try and legitimize it, and that was Queen Victoria making use of anaesthetic when birthing her children.
Yeah. They use like ether. They'll have used ethers at this point.
Yes.
They won't be as effective as kind of modern anesthetic is now.
No. But and we
They
in
will
fact
do better though.
we do see ether used in the film, which is quite interesting.
Yeah.
That was the stuff I quite liked about it.
Yeah. Well, it's all the superficial stuff, as I say, is pretty good. The little neat pick that that they're using time accurate anesthetic, probably time accurate instruments as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they call it lobotomy in the film?
I don't think they called it a lobotomy. I think they just called it like a procedure.
Okay, because I was just reading up. It's the term lobotomy is never used or has never really been used officially in the UK. They call it something else.
Well, he gives her the treatment, and also you've got the old Dutch angle on him, and this guy, as you say, very much set up to be the obvious Jack candidate. I don't think it's unfair to say that they're playing him up as the big villain, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, the guy's just evil, really. Because he's doing a medical procedure, and you could make the argument it's kind of normal in those days to do that, but like a lot of doctors in the background as well, they just don't care that a woman's essentially having part of her brain removed. And I don't think, does he know that she's innocent and not actually mental, or?
We later see that he's initiated into the Masons, so he's very much...
Yeah, true.
There's probably a good chance that he's doing them a favour.
Yeah.
Well, shall we make it easy for if we just lay out... Haryan, would you like to lay out for us, as best you can from watching the film, in about a minute, what's Jack the Ripper doing, according to this film?
Well, Jack the Ripper is basically a rogue stonemason. They are trying to kill the prostitute. They need to get rid of the prostitutes in whatever way they can. And Jack the Ripper is one of the Freemasons who is getting rid of them, but he's decided to, remove their organs as he does it, and just be horrific as Jack the Ripper was with them. And it turns out he just had to get rid of them quietly, not make this whole massive investigation around the Masons, because it's just attracting attention to them. So, exactly why I didn't get from the film why he was killing the prostitutes, because they had the baby, but they didn't know the baby was of royalty, essentially, because that's the reason. So I don't know why he couldn't just steal the baby, and like they're whores. Who cares? Like you don't even have to get rid of them. So
there's a certain amount of who's going to believe them, and they don't know exactly who the father is. They just think he's rich.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes, they are all in the law of From Hell. All 5 victims were present at the secret Catholic wedding between Prince Edward Albert Victor.
That was it. Sorry, yeah.
And a prostitute, which resulted in a legitimate heir. And so, this was a scandal, obviously.
Yeah, I'm not being funny, but with the way the stonemasons have basically control over everything, you don't need to kill anyone to get that covered up. Ever.
No.
So yeah, the plot's just one massive gaping hole, a bit like most of the prostitutes have.
Hey-o. But as we said,
sorry,
go ahead.
Go ahead. As well as killing them to get rid of the witnesses, he was also, for some reason, then glowing by the end. For reasons.
He
was a super high up mega mason, and
was he
him,
a CIA agent?
No.
Chloe.
So he's not just offing them, but he sees it as part of a Masonic duty, specifically requested of him by the Queen, and so he decides that he needs to off them in a way that is of great service to the Masons and in accordance with the rituals. and therefore
that was it.
He does the incredible ritualistic murders, which apparently align with some Masonic writing. So that is the idea behind it. That is the explanation for who was killed, why
and
they were
how
killed
they
in
were,
the way they were. Now, one of the basic problems of this is, of course, in real life, there's not really any actual evidence that the women knew each other. I mean, they were working the same area at the same time, but there's no evidence apparently that they were actually very close and like regular friends who were meeting up down the 10 Bells, the way it's portrayed in this film.
Yeah.
As we made clear, Alan Moore did not make this with a view to saying, I genuinely believe this is a credible theory explaining Jack the Ripper. He was doing it so that he could explain what he saw as a sickness in Victorian society and how it would go on to influence the 20th century. That's why he's writing it. I don't think the film is aware of that particularly.
No, I mean, from what you were saying before, this didn't really follow the graphic novel, apart from kind of the main story with the, there are Masons in it.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's as near as it gets.
I mean, in case you can't tell so far, the plot is a bit ass. It's not. It's not good. Yeah, the saving grace of this film really is just all the superficial stuff. It looks really good, and some of the characters, especially the more campy ones, are whoever Hagrid played. He was one of my preferred ones.
A weirdly
the
subtle
lovable sidekick
performance in the middle of a film that didn't really understand the concept of subtlety.
Yeah,
and there's stuff like this that is just
yeah, the shots are great.
So, do you want to describe this shot if this one's stuck in your head? Because I love this. I've only got one shot from it, but this is a whole sequence. It's kind of lovely.
I try. The version I'm watching keeps buffering. Yeah, you're better off doing it because you're better off with shots than me.
So it's so bizarre. Like the plot is ass, but the shots are gorgeous. So we see in this one, I'm very sorry. I believe it's Mary Ann Nichols is the first victim. Apologies if I've got the order wrong there. She is offed because the basically the Jack the Ripper plot is now in motion. The illegitimate, the wife to Prince Albert Victor has been lobotomized and neutralized, and now they have to take out the witnesses. So they start with Mary Ann Nichols. And you basically have a static shot once Jack is crouched over her, mutilated her. She stays laying there in this undignified fashion for quite a few minutes, and just everything moves around her. So Jack's gutted her. He walks off via this gaslit lamp. He looks gorgeous. I mean, we're using the amazing Ripper iconography. This is basically pure Ripper imagery right here. He disappears into the light. You have a few moments and she's just lying there and you're just so focused on her, and the impact of her death is really emphasized by how she stays still in frame. Everything moves around her. A policeman comes, sees her, runs off, and then a crowd comes and it intensifies with a crowd all moving about, and it just makes her stillness more poignant because it's set in contrast to that, and it's just a beautiful little scene.
Yeah, it's good. It's also worth mentioning that you see Jack the Ripper has kind of a professional surgeon's kit that he's using.
Yes. Apologies, good catch.
No, it's fine. Yeah. Well, no, because I noticed that, and then obviously you see it in you find out the Ripper's room later, and you're like, oh, well, that's when I went, oh, it's him. But why?
There's a really cute detail with that. You notice, like, he shows you this. He opens a surgeon's bag here with the Masonic symbol, and it's got the tools on both sides of it when it's opened.
Yeah.
And then the same character shows a surgeon's kit to Johnny Depp,
Abeline.
Inspector Abeline later, and it's gone like this. And you see he's clearly used a separate kit, but it's to sort of throw you off a bit. I thought It's a nice touch.
Yeah, I mean, it was a different kit, but to me, it's just like, well, it's like, oh, maybe you had something like this. Like the way he delivered it, I'm like, right, it's you then, cool. And he's giving a load of the information away later, isn't he? Like, oh, he cut the neck from left to right, so he's right-handed, things like that. So
yeah, it was pretty kind of telegraphed from quite early on that it was him.
Yeah,
and I don't know how deliberate that was, but it was like, I have read most of the graphic novel, so I kind of knew anyway. But I'd sort of forgotten by the time we came to watching the film, and it was fairly quickly on. It was like, oh, right, that's what they're doing. It's Bilbo.
Well, they give you a decoy. They give you a couple of decoys. They've got the hard man enforcer of Mr. Kidney, and you have the other doctor who's, I'm afraid, I didn't bother to learn the name. I never do. He's the decoy doctor. The guy who did the lobotomy.
I'm going to have to call the cat Mr. Kidney.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, yeah, that was it. Just with a plot thing here, you have the grapes picked up from the grape stem picked up from the body, and he like puts his finger over her lips and then like smells it, and I was like, oh, so he works out that she's drunk and eating something. He's picked that up.
That was quite nicely done, I thought.
Yeah, it was on every single one. It's just he's doing all these ritual stuff. He's being really, careful about it all and meticulous, and then it's like, oh, I'll leave two massive bits of evidence there. It's okay.
It is. It's one of those silly things as well, because black grapes were actually found around the body of. Oh, forgive me. I want to say Catherine Eddowes, the second victim. Let me just. Am I right in that?
I'll check that for you.
Okay, thank you. Was it Annie Chapman? I think. Yeah, it was Annie Chapman. Apologies.
Yeah, right. Annie Chapman's the second. So it's Mary Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Kelly.
Yeah. So they're found once. So the woman found in the yard, that's a woman around whose body grape stems were found. But then this has just taken it into they're all being given grapes as a clue, as you say, and it's just it's weird. It's taking that little bit of the history and then expanding it way beyond.
Yeah, it's true. If it's a massive thing that will help you find the murderer, though, it's because where else are you going to find the? Because it was a certain type of opium, wasn't it? Or something like that. And it kind of just works out. Oh well, it's got to be a doctor. Basically, he works out. So,
and that's something that gets discussed a bit in this scene with the rather excellent Ian Richardson as Charles Warren. And you run into sort of, this is the stuff Alan Moore is interesting. The idea that the aristocracy would just, the elite would refuse to think it's one of their own.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because he tries to blame Jews and butchers, doesn't he?
Yes, he goes for it first.
Yeah, and you can see the little stonemason symbol on his lapel there. So
yes, indeed you can.
Yeah, and Abeline's just like, it's not butchers and it's not Jews. This is a doctor. And obviously, this guy being a doctor, he's like, well, why would it be a doctor? And even after the film finished, I'm like, why was it a doctor?
I think he goes for the fact that they got the he suspects it at this point when some stuff has been taken, but you don't have any of the circumstantial evidence that he gets later, which is tricky to locate. Organs have been removed and were removed in the dark in a very short period of time. Yeah. At which point he's like, okay, right, this is a surgeon. But at this point, you just know stuff's been cut out. So why couldn't it be a butcher? And in fact, most of the early suspects, Leather Apron being the... exactly, they were butchers.
Yeah. They did a weird thing with the Leather Apron in this one where it was just left at a crime scene, wasn't it? under the chalk message.
Weird one, almost like they felt they had to sort of tick it off.
Put the reference in.
It was the second murder victim in this film. They mentioned, there's a scrap of leather apron in this courtyard.
Oh, yeah.
And then the apron that's found under the Jews are the men that will not be blamed for nothing is actually a bit of one of the other victims' aprons that's been ripped off her dress, and it was left there deliberately, and that's true to life.
Right.
I have a lot of highly specific knowledge.
We're all becoming Ripper experts after this. I love it.
We could win some really gruesome pub quizzes at this point.
Right, let's go. Right, who's going on Mastermind?
Just don't team me up with David Lammy. I'll be fine. I love that clip of him on the show.
David Lammy was on it.
Have you not seen David Lammy on Mastermind?
No, I've not.
Oh my gosh.
That is something I've got to see after.
Save that up, guys. That is hilarious.
What does he do?
Oh, no, I won't ruin it for you, but
okay.
Let's say, given the show's title, it's like, are you on the right show, sir? His performance is up there with the haven't seen a policeman round here for ages.
It's dangerously based.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's so good. I think we want this one.
Sorry, I just sorry. I just listened to David Lammy quickly. It's like, which Marie was won Nobel prizes for her work in radiation, whatever, radioactivity, and his answer was Antoinette.
I know.
I mean, that would be an interesting timeline to live in, wouldn't it?
True, but my lord.
Anyway.
Oh, yeah, this bit.
So we'll move on to a different bit of character defamation.
Yeah, I don't like what they did to Adeline at all.
They talk us through that, because what they're doing here is he has some absinthe. He does the old absinthe ritual. Very classy, guys. I can recommend. It's fun to do. If you get good stuff, by the way, you got to don't go cheap absinthe.
No, you want that 80% stuff.
Oh.
I think last time we tried to do it, we ended up shattering a glass because it got too hot.
Yes, you do need a good glass, a good thick glass, if you're going to actually like the absinthe the way he does here.
Right.
And he drops a little bit of laudanum in there to enhance the visions. So
on the sugar cube, which he then melts and stirs in. Yeah,
exactly. So why did the psychic stuff not work for you, Haryan?
It was kind of added in and for seemingly no reason. It's just like, I think there'll be more murders is all it essentially came down to in the plot. I also don't. I mean, I know people in chat it's not supposed to be realistic. Yeah, I know. But I like Adeline. What I know, I quite like Adeline basically as a person in real life and when he's been portrayed in other media such as Assassin's Creed, as I keep mentioning. And in that, they're a bit loose with history on that as well. But in that one, he's just basically a cop trying to do well and he keeps putting on disguises in the underworld, which apparently he was actually known for, but not to the extent probably in Assassin's Creed. Whereas in this, he could be an any man cop who's a druggie, and it's like, wow, that is completely different to real life. So I didn't like it, but I'll go along with it. I understand it's old history, but then all it adds to the plot is he kind of sees visions pointlessly to see that there's going to be more murders, and it's like, that's it. It's great, adds nothing.
Would you say it's maybe a device to try and make him a bit more interesting and basically get him information to just get him to places a bit quicker and to make him a bit more central to the narrative?
But there's better ways to do that than just have him see random visions and be really lucky with it. I mean, if you're
absolutely there are. Absolutely there are. I think that's why they did it.
But it's bad.
Oh, of course, one of the things we're talking about is the difficulty of doing this as a story if you're trying to do it as a police story, because you're just going to be, you don't catch your man, and you're constantly missing him. I was thinking of Zodiac. Have you seen the
I've
David
not seen
Fincher?
Zodiac.
Oh, bugger.
I know of it.
That Crime Guy.
Yeah.
He watched it. But that's the trouble of how do you do a police story when you didn't catch the criminal?
Well, if they were having issues of keeping him interesting, just introduce him to Mary Kelly earlier. That's all you had to do.
Yeah.
Because she could have fed him basically similar things. It's just because two of her friends have died now, and she's like, oh, there's a pattern here. We hang out here, and here. Like maybe we go here, which they do later. But that's like past halfway through the film. But he could get it because Abeline's probably most interesting in this film when he's with other characters, not when he's getting off his tit.
It's not very endearing, is it?
No. No, I didn't. Like when he's zonked out his brain, he's not anything. He's just, you're thinking, how is he still a cop? Basically.
It's weird because there are some sort of mystic elements in From Hell, as you would expect from an Alan Moore story, but they're not really with Abeline, and they're not going to transfer very well to a story which is trying to do a bit more of a straight-laced vision of the history. It's just not going to work. So I think that's why they were doing it. It basically, if Abeline gets to see the murders, then he can be more centrally involved. He can be rushing to the crime scene and so on. And he can be the man who gets inside it all versus the slightly difficult, not standard Hollywood narrative of Abeline as a guy who is reasonably high up in the police and gets reports and has to wait for a report from a policeman and then he goes somewhere. It's just, he's a bit too, it's realistic, but he's abstracted from it. And I think that's not what they wanted to do. They wanted their detective right there in the middle of the action. It just...
yeah, well, and that's fine. You have an alt history, like go for it. Just, it's not interesting if he's just getting zonked out and getting lucky with the visions.
Yeah, it just didn't feel very coherent.
Yeah.
It felt like they just needed a protagonist, and they were like, "Let's make this extra spooky." Or I like the idea that it's maybe a Sherlock Holmes link, except that they were so kind of gritty and hardcore with other elements, and they were a bit with the police, and then they kind of forgot that maybe they should make it sort of gritty and turned it into a bit of a kind of like Dancing with the Green Fairy.
Well, I've highlighted this comment here as well. I mean, I want to do Fez as well because listen to Fez on alcohol, by the way, guys. Good recommendations. Alexa,
sober October.
It's really funny that you say that because there is actually a quite well-known film where Sherlock Holmes goes after Jack the Ripper, and that's a film called Murder by Decree. I've not been able to check it out myself, but I gather it is very good. I don't know if I'll stream about it, but I definitely want to check it out. So Murder by Decree is Sherlock Holmes hunting a Ripper. Now, they do change a few of the names around, but so it's not directly repeating the history, I think possibly out of a sensitivity. But it's also using the same conspiracy theory as in From Hell. And that is, interestingly enough, based on a book by Stephen Knight called The Final Solution, Years, Control Yourself. And let's focus on... let's move swiftly on to this bit, which I really liked. Again, we might laugh at the plot. We will certainly laugh at Johnny Depp's ridiculous accent and the way he basically gets to be a bad boy detective in Victorian England.
Yeah, you fucking can't see.
Although I think it's important to ask a really crucial question. Is Johnny Depp's British accent better or worse than Keanu Reeves in Dracula? I know where the bastard sleeps.
It's
a pretty accurate impression.
Poor guy. Don't come for Keanu Reeves.
Please.
Anyway, so again, for all we will laugh at this film for, look at the visuals. I can't say how much I love the creepy green lights on the stagecoach and the way the ladder to it comes out, making this sort of sound of a knife unsheathing. Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. You have a little scene where you see Jack the Ripper prepare, like getting the absinthe and putting the poison in it, and then getting the grapes ready, and taking the surgery kit. So yeah, the audience knows at this point it's definitely a Freemason. So
yeah, we're very clued in on it, and we're building it up. And
which is like, yeah, and I mean, why make it a murder mystery then? If you're just gonna good murder mysteries, you'll kind of be drip fed the same clues as the detectives.
Yes.
Whereas in this one, it basically as you said before, it just telegraphs to you. Oh, look, it's a Mason. Oh, this one's showing you the surgery kit that looks very similar. Probably him. Wink, wink. It's like, oh, great, thanks. Why?
That's an interesting one, actually, in terms of framing it as a mystery story, because we've kind of gone over the history of this a lot, so I don't want to focus on it too much. You guys, if you watch the other streams, you sort of know the history of the Ripper murders. So this is interesting to me as a way of talking about how to tell a story. What you said about structuring a murder mystery is quite interesting. You generally want to be sticking with a character who's investigating it and coming across clues, right? Whereas in this one, the clues are largely completely separate to Aberline, far removed from him. You say that's fair? And it's like the audience sees it, but he isn't getting to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, his clues come. Some of the clues that, I mean, we already know come through his visions. I think really the only one where we learn anything new from his visions is that he has an ex-wife who died in childbirth. Which is, again, playing fast and loose with history. He actually had a wife for 2 months before she died of TB.
You win some, you lose some.
Just don't get the lung, idiot. That's my advice. I'll just have a massive will to live, like in Bly Manor.
Thank you. Oh man, just
problem solved.
But again, how can you be mad with this film when it looks like this?
Because the plot was awful.
It's so bad, Chloe.
I know, but it's so gorgeous. Like the way they've tied the green in to like symbolize the danger of the Ripper. Yeah. So his coach lanterns are green. He's often in this green haze. And then it's tied in the absinthe as well that he puts in the grapes. And then you've got a kind of dream logic with Johnny Depp taking the green absinthe to key himself into the mindset of the Ripper. I've been watching a lot of collative learning recently, and now I'm watching for the colours in every film.
I think you're giving this too much credit. I think things can look pretty, but be worthless underneath, a bit like Hayden Christensen.
Nah. The green is deliberate. Green is 100% deliberate. That is not a reach.
Right. I will say, if you're desperately after a really good representation of Victorian London, literally just buy Assassin's Creed Syndicate and walk through the town. Like it's a lot better because it's interactive as well, and you have little choirs about singing Rule Britannia. It's great.
I've already got my favourite version of Rule Britannia, you know.
Oh, don't you dare play that.
What?
I'm not this scored here. Come on, I'm going to help. Besides, we've got a lot of film to cover. This is thrown in.
Oh, yeah. What the hell was this about? Yeah. Why was the Elephant Man in it? I don't know why they brought the Elephant Man in.
Reasons?
He's in the book. He's in the graphic novel. They feature John Merrick in that.
Not a good enough reason to bring him in.
Alan Moore was very interested in just writing about Victorian society and his view of it, and John Merrick's story is a way of him examining it. Now, as for From Hell, no idea. I think they just wanted to make it interesting visually, and so they went to all the expense of featuring the Elephant Man for about 1 minute.
I suppose there's an element of, we've seen aspects of the kind of Victorian approach to medicine and sort of freaks and putting people on display, and sort of treating people with quite a lot of disregard. So maybe Fez is right. These are your elites caring for your health, but also not really caring for you as humans. You could say that that's going on if you wanted to give the film a lot more credit than I think it deserves.
I
In
think
the graphic novel, it's there, but I feel like it's just shoehorned in here because they were like, "Oh, that was in the book."
Well, they seem to want it in here to be like, look how good our physical effects department is.
Something
So,
like that.
okay.
It's a compelling visual. I'm not sure about what it says, to be honest, outside of the context in which it was covered in the graphic novel. I mean, the graphic novel, they're going everywhere. They're covering basically, they're covering so many avenues. So you meet Oscar Wilde, you meet Buffalo Bill Cody, because they were around in Victorian society. Alan Moore takes you all the way through things happening in Victorian society at the time, because he's interested in categorizing that and exploring that. This one, I don't know, man. I think they wanted it for visual interest. Maybe they're just based on the surgeon question. But it's again, it's a thing that doesn't necessarily need to be in here. And this is already a film that lost about 20 minutes, from what I can tell. Basically, just an interesting venue in which Abeline can meet Dr. William Gull.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, you're established. It's an they're over-establishing that he's, meeting him basically. It's like, oh, look, he's in this room with the Elephant Man. Ooh, like, look at all these terrible people looking at a weird man. It's like, okay. And then he has a little chat with the doctors before this as well. Can't remember what he says. And yeah, he's asking about, oh, what's this knife? And then I think this way he's showing the surgery kit essentially.
I think this is the weird thing is though, I had no idea why he knew what knife to draw. Because they didn't find one on the scene, did they?
Yeah, that's true.
I had no idea. At this point I was kind of checked out. I'm like, this is just nonsense. But they try and be clever at other bits. It's like, oh, how does he know it's that they're having a type of opium, that they're drinking a type of opium? And it's like, well, because he's an opium smoker. It's like, oh, that's cool. So he would know that. And he's asked about that as well. It's like, that's all neat. And then it's just like, oh, I know what type of knife it is. It's like, what?
That was one of the clever points of the script that I actually liked. That it could show, like, he's put it together. He can sniff something, and then not only does he how can I say? Not only does he use knowledge that he has, but actually that knowledge kind of costs him something, because he kind of has to admit some sort of illicit behavior himself. Now, he doesn't pay any price for that whatsoever, but,
Well, he does. He dies. He becomes an opium addict and he dies.
He didn't have to confess. He'd have done that anyway, right?
No.
Really?
I don't think he would have. No. Not if things have worked out for him. Not if you move to that cottage.
I would suggest that is unrelated to him having to reveal himself as an opium addict to a professional.
Oh, well, yeah, but at that point when he's admitted it, it's a bit like he's got less shaming going. That I don't know, I'm reaching here.
That's cool, man. That's cool.
But it's just, I mean, I don't like the whole opium side plot anyway, so I'd rather see it gone.
We're not going to defend it. See, look, people are saying I make good points. It's not all reaching. I'm going to assume that people also 100% agree with me that the absinthe is a visual clue to getting into the Ripper's mind. And we don't need to, go into that. We'll just assume that everyone agreed with that point.
It sort of feels to me like the whole opium thing is a bit more of an attempt by the creators, I don't know, to sort of show the seedy side of London. They're like, what else can we do that shows how messed up London was at the time? I know, opium dens. Like,
I mean, they feature all over the place, you know. I mean, Sherlock Holmes stories feature opium dens a fair amount.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I feel like the creators of this were like, let's shove that in. People will get that reference.
Yeah,
it's an interesting one, kind of like there's a thing you notice that there's a big project on to try and show, like, try and make the 1950s and 1960s, well, especially 1950s, as like seedy as possible. Like Blue Velvet would be a really good example of that. And they kind of already do it for Victorians a fair amount, I think, like a project to sort of stop you having a rose-tinted vision of those periods. Or I could be talking rubbish.
Yeah, but I think they possibly have overcorrected in the other direction. I think it's a lot easier to say, oh, well, you know, the Victorians were so... they had such an emphasis on purity, but look, they were all sort of seedy and diseased underneath. I feel like it's just kind of overdone at this point. It's not really an accurate reflection of what society was like.
Yeah.
In the same way that I think the 50s, it's kind of an attempt to discredit an idea we have of our past, because things were possibly, not all things, but some things were better back then. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a focus on seediness. Alexa, you are right. The Hughes brothers did do Menace to Society. They are very big marijuana advocates. And they also did a film called The Book of Eli, which I can't say I've seen, but, you know, they got to work with Denzel Washington, so pretty cool. Menace was one of the better Hood movies. Yeah. How would you rate it alongside Boys in the Hood? Because that one wasn't subtle, but, you know, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool in bits. I'm
distracted and curious about the pepper trick.
Can we get an explanation on the pepper trick, Fez? I think we've heard it. It's true. It is the methanol that is the issue. That's apparently the logic behind banning home distilling. It's like the methanol is going to come out first when you distill. This is why you're always discarding the first couple of the first 10% of your output, because the methanol will be in that largely, and then you've just got the good ethanol that you'll keep. That's in the hearts of the spirit mix. But let's not get distracted by distilling talk, because we moved on to a scene I quite liked here. There's an interesting dynamic that's also in the graphic novel with the coach driver Netley sort of bearing the physical toll, the psychological toll of being the accomplice. I really like this, and I didn't realize it was Jason Fleming. I thought he was weirdly familiar, but I still can't exactly place that it's the same actor.
He's in Snatch as a kind of bit character, but I can't remember which bit character. I think he's called Darren.
He's one of them, yeah. He's a guy from Snatch is what I have him as. It's like,
yeah. I think he's in Lockstock as well.
He was.
He does look like a Guy Ritchie actor. So,
I really liked him in this. I thought he was one of the best things in the film.
Yeah, he's certainly one of the most interesting. He had a weird ear the whole time, though. That put me off a bit. But no, because he's clearly distraught at helping, like, the Ripper do what he's doing to women. Because he's the one that offers the grapes and things like that. So yeah, he's directly an accomplice, and he's not taking it well. Hence, drinking gin and being like, I don't want to do it anymore. Mm-hmm. Well, the Ripper's there saying, basically you don't have a choice.
It's he keeps it grounded, but unfortunately the film, and this is some good scenery chewing from Ian Holm, like him describing them, just saying basically they're in hell. Oh, it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
And that is, it's so much better in the graphic novel where you are getting what he's up to, and their dynamic is just fascinating. But we kind of get a lot of stuff where it unravels very quickly. This is quite nice and grounded. His performance, you see enough of it to really understand what he's going through. But the film then, as we said, it has a problem with tone because it throws you some absolute madness. I'm going to highlight a few bits of it.
Well, it's
just bring on the madness.
It's just a few things that come in really short succession. Like this. How will I investigate the archives to try and find out if there really was a secret child born and where it is? Oh, it's okay. I'll just have a policeman kick a barrel of explosive.
Well, we've got this, but you skipped the bit where Adeline wants to talk to Mary Kelly. And so instead of like approaching her like a normal person, she's basically kidnapped. It's like Hagrid snatched her up and throws her in a carriage, and then she's just like, "Oh, it's you. That's all right then."
Yeah,
so,
sorry.
What?
Sorry, also, we picked up on this in the viewing, but yeah, we did go for the whole. Why the hell would you need to do that? Why?
Yeah, the other question I have is if they are so keen to make sure that no one knows that the daughter born to the prince and the slag is actually a legitimate heir to the throne, why not, I don't know, get rid of the marriage license and the birth certificate rather than keeping them?
Well, exactly my point, and then you don't have to kill a load of whores. My brain blew, and then, well, this is the thing. This is the weird thing about this barrel thing as well. He goes in and he's like, "Oh, I've been told to wait in Dr. Kidney's office," and the guy at the front desk is like, "Oh, you know where it is?" And then he has a go at him saying, "Well, no, I can stay like here an idiot otherwise, and you can tell Dr. Kidney you disobeyed his order." And he's just like, "Yeah, that's good enough. I'll let you go up." It's like, okay. So he goes up and he's sneaking around. The reason this barrel comes in is because like Dr. Kidney and someone else is actually going in. So it's just a massive distraction basically, but it's not subtle. It's just weird.
And then the guy on the door is like, "Someone was here looking for you, Mr. Kidney. His name is Adeline." As Adeline walks right past him, it's like, are you blind as well as dense?
Yeah, they even mention as well, it's like, "Oh, that was nothing but gunpowder, just a fancy firework." And he's basically saying, "Oh, that was a distraction." I'm not going at all like, what could they possibly be distracting us from?
Yes, it was. Yeah. I don't know. On some level, waifu, can you look up the trailer? Mute yourself. Look up the trailer and see if the explosion is in the trailer. I'm almost wondering if it's just. Did they just
trailer bait? Yeah,
is it trailer bait? Let's find out.
I'd be astonished if it isn't, to be honest. It was really dumb. Because it doesn't even distract him for long. They just go inside anyway and realise that he's found the records.
We then get a big scene, which is basically confirming Masons are everywhere. And at all levels, which kind of, as you say, emphasises, well, why do they need to do all this?
There's quite a long section with Adeline and Mary Kelly, and they see the lobotomized wench, and then they start. It's basically blossoming a romance with them. Is the main point while they're doing the investigation.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I missed that bit where they go in to check that out. Yeah, I mean, I thought it's kind of a shame. Like, I think the result of the lobotomies is actually really effective horror. Like, it can be very unsettling, and I think with the sort of kind of crazed tone of this film, it doesn't get to land it when it can be something deeply, deeply disturbing.
And
I'm just going to say in the graphic novel it's better, but in the graphic novel, she's not kept in an asylum. She's turned loose. And the mother is turned loose, and the result of what they've done to her has actually made her sort of really swollen and deformed and just so absent-minded as to be non-functional. And it's just really disturbing that what they've reduced her to, and she just goes around wandering. It's so much creepier.
It's in the trailer.
Nailed it.
What a surprise.
The other thing I've realised how he knew what the knife was shaped like. It's because he saw it in his visions.
Oh, fuck off, man.
Get wrecked.
Yeah, it's in the trailer, along with a lot of slow-mo sex based on that one single sex scene.
Yeah, you did not get all that much titty in this film.
No.
I did like the asylum set, though. I thought that was quite good.
Oh, God, you and John D.
Oh, John D.
One day I'll get him on screen.
Yeah.
One day.
Because, I mean, the silent scene we went through where... And then, it's really weird. It's set out like it's straight after that, Abilene and Mary Kelly are on a date. And I don't know why, but they go into this building and see pictures of Queen Victoria and
it's
Prince
so
Albert.
That he can work out that he can demonstrate
you're right.
husband.
Yeah. Which she obviously does with a flashback to the wedding. So they witnessed a marriage. They didn't know it was a marriage between royalty and a prostitute. So until that happened, there was no need to kill them. It's so stupid.
If they didn't know, and no one would ever believe them anyway.
Yeah, I mean, even if they do know, who cares? Yeah,
and they hardly have the resources to blackmail anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we get the thing I had most problems with. Like, this is in very short succession, basically, of the film really going quite crazy. It's a wild ride, and but yeah, the whole Abilene is actually in love with Mary Kelly and not a faithful man, and he obviously immediately.
His wife died years ago. What do you mean? You're right at that point. You're okay to remarry.
Yeah, but I mean, come on, man. He's a man of status. It's just basically, have we had enough connection here for there to be a deep connection and deep passion between these two?
Oh, she's a whore. She just pretends. And Abeline's clearly thirsty.
And there's no chemistry between them.
Yeah, I did not get the chemistry. They're focusing on the accents.
Well, that's probably why you couldn't tell the chemistry. They couldn't act.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was not a fan of this development, which is
comes out of nowhere, really. Yeah.
I just read it as part of an attempt to try and make the narrative of From Hell more traditional. So, like, you have to have your main detective has to be an attractive chap, and he has to be right at the heart of the action and there himself, and he has to have a bit of a love interest. Got to be a romantic connection for him. And these are things that are just not in the history, and they're not in the story.
Yeah, I mean, again, but it'd fix the film so much if you just got rid of all these stupid visions and instead had Mary Kelly and Abilene introduced to each other earlier and focus a bit more on building up to this. This is just... I mean, I do find it funny. They start kissing and then the officer's like, don't no prosing in public, you grim bastards.
Cease your prosing. Oh, that one's a bit early. I need the one just before that. Sorry, folks. I mean this is a double event, so it's the same night. I'm not spoiling it too much. But then we get on from that nonsense. We get more gorgeous photography.
Is this the Leather one?
Yes.
Yeah, I hated her as a character.
Oh, tell me about that.
Well, she was lesbian for a start. No, not really. Yeah, she just keeps sexually assaulting everyone.
She's a bit grabby, isn't she?
Yeah, she's
a little bit handsy.
Yeah, because like there's the first one who's crying because she was threatened by the guy who wants protection money, and she's just crying and like all that, and then she's just like, oh, this is the perfect time to embrace her and start trying to play some tonsil tennis. And I'm just like, wow, you just have no empathy for other people and are just a sex pest. Because then she gets the French prosy, and they're in a pub, whatever the pub's called. Belgium, who cares? Continental. And then she starts trying to get off with her in the pub, and one of the other prosies is like, "Not in public, you idiot."
I did struggle with that because she's being extremely public, and then she's in private, and she looks like she's wanting to go a bit further with young Belgian Missy, who's really against it, and then seems to be up for it a bit later. She's
well, she was up for it at first, and then when there's that, I mean, this just before this is the scene where they're dancing, and then she tries to like get too handsy, and the Belgian one's like, "Nah," and she's like, "Oh, I paid for your supper." And to be fair, she is a prostitute, so I can understand the why you'd think the transaction works. But she gets really pissed off, and goes out, gets given the grapes and the drink, and she's here and drops a shoot. What's she dropping? The puddle? She's picking whatever she drops up in the. Oh, it's a grapes. And then she just gets ripped. But she deserves it for being such a sex pest. I advocate this happen to Jay and the In-Betweeners.
All right, good. There is like we're ripping on this film on a story level, but it's gorgeous, and there's some good direction in this bit, right? So there's a bit. Yeah, totally. This is a bit where it's a double event, and the major theory was that Jack didn't fully mutilate Elizabeth Stride because he was interrupted. So he's interrupted here, and Jack and Netley, the coach driver, are basically caught in the act after killing Liz Stride. There's a chap with a cart coming round the corner. They've been witnessed by a Jewish guy. They shout, "Off with you, Lipsky," at him, which is the old insult of choice at the time. And there's that tension of they're just about to be caught in the act, and the guy comes around the corner, and then you're cutting to someone standing there, but it's actually Abeline and not them. It's a really good transition.
Yeah.
Soratin, I think you liked it too. Good for you. I thought this was one of the best directed bits of the film. It really held the tension for me.
Yeah.
And
this was a good scene, yeah.
Yeah, Netley sold the worry of it, I thought. But as we know, so this is the kind of thing that has so much promise in it, and it's frustrating because there are these lovely touches in From Hell, and then just madness all over it. We get a follow-up, and obviously it's a double event, so it's not the only image. Folks, apologies if that is a bit much for you. It's quite...
There's our intestines over her shoulder. Yeah.
I mean, the double event, you note the gore, as in real life, steps up. So the throat cutting for the double event on Liz Stride was really nasty. If it was CGI, it was very good CGI. But I think they actually used a dummy. I didn't get a screen cap of it, but one of the complaints I had was that the first body, Martha Tabram, who's often ignored by the narrative, Martha Tabram's body is like very, very clearly a dummy.
Oh god,
and, yeah. I should have capped that maybe, but that annoyed me. It's just very clearly in focus. Now, for the rest of the film, they're actually quite sparse in what they show you, aren't they?
Yeah. It's all kind of close-ups, and it's not really. There's nothing like that one you were just showing. So
yeah, but they've included the detail here. So the nose cut off, the intestines slung over the shoulders. I'm going to remove that from screen for the moment because it's quite a lot. And you really have to be careful with screen capping that because it's very brief that is on screen, and it's this section where they're trying to be a fair bit closer to the reality. I mean, you're still getting the grapes being dropped for the obvious clue, which I think we talked about the historicity of. And we then get this tension where Abeline kind of properly runs up against obstruction from the top brass.
Yeah, because he's saying, we need to get rid of that. Well, it's for public order, isn't it? That he's saying it's for.
Which you'll have noticed, he was initially saying you can't say Jews did it, and now he's just First he was saying, it was probably a Jewish guy that did it, and now he's being like, oh no, you definitely don't. No.
Yeah,
and it's quite interesting because we caught a weird error in the script at this point. Do you remember, Waifu, that you've got Abeline saying, he looks at that and he says, no, I know an educated man wrote that. An educated man knows how to spell Jew. It's like,
that's not how you spell it, yeah.
So are you saying the guy deliberately misspelled that?
Yeah, it's like he says, well, clearly this was written by an educated person and he's misspelling it to mislead us. But it's like...
No, hang on. Sorry.
Go on.
Just a quick wiki of how you spell that. Jews spelled like that is the name by which the Masons designate the 3 assassins of Grand Master Haryan Gláeddyv. So it's a specifically stonemason thing, spelling Jews like that. So, yeah, thanks, Google.
Well, that is what he goes for. That is what he goes for in this movie.
Yeah, in the end, that's where he ends up. But in this point, he doesn't make that clear. He's sort of implying, from my memory of this scene, he's implying that you can tell from the way it's written, like the handwriting, that someone educated wrote it. But then I'm pretty sure within the same breath, he's like, but the handwriting's really crap. So it's like, how can it be both? Like, how is this person educated enough to misspell words to mislead us? But also, I don't know. It just felt incoherent.
Yeah, well, after learning about, basically, that's how the stonemasons spell Jews, it's, well, why not mention that in the script? Yeah,
I think he doesn't get it until later. So at this, he doesn't do his research on the Masons until later, I think.
No, he's done his research on the Masons before this, because there's like a drawing he does in the book where he's making a Freemason symbol based on like where the murders are located and stuff like that. He suspects the stonemasons, and that's why at this point I don't know why he didn't say just have it's a throwaway line, just like an educated man knows how to spell Jews the way of the Masons or something like that. It just that little extra 2 words, and that stops this confusion.
Yeah. Okay. It threw me off. I mean, the first time I watched this, I remember being very confused by it. Possibly some of the refreshment I was enjoying did not help. But this rewatch, I did still find, and we're talking like a watch over a decade ago. This rewatch on the weekend, I still found some of the leaps of logic quite confusing.
Yeah. Well, that's because a lot of the time you just go, oh, he just fills it in with his visions. It's like, yeah, great storytelling, thanks.
One of these visions, Haryan. One of these ones.
Yeah, and he has this vision before that scene, so. Oh, stonemasons.
I did save it because it looked amazing, though. Again, I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker for how gorgeous this film is. Gosh darn it.
See, as I say, superficially, this is a good film. Which is, it's fine if it works for you. Which it works. Like the visuals worked for me.
Yeah.
It's just the plot is just it's like a Swiss cheese.
At this point, he's pretty much got everything he needs because he goes straight to your boy William Gull. He's been visiting him throughout at this point, getting hints, and Gull has been basically not trying to divert him too much. Like, you might wonder what Dr. Gull's motivation is in being like, oh yeah, it's totally a surgeon, man. It's totally a surgeon.
Yeah.
And not trying to direct him away at all.
Yeah.
Why? Yeah. Just...
Oh, don't ask why. We don't know. We don't get it explained. It's just, Masonic rituals and I need to kill them. So,
Sometimes I feel like films are fine to not take too literally and you can suspend disbelief. But this one was like...
Yeah.
Just, I feel like the 6th victim of Jack the Ripper was coherence of the plot. I don't know. That sounded more intelligent in my head.
I liked it. Let's see what you did there.
Yeah, he turns around as well, and his like his eyes just go fully black, and I'm like, why?
Because the Freemasons do arcane magic and stuff in it.
There's kind of a nice thing here in this setup where you have him in focus in the mirror, and it's like, okay, that's the reflection of him. That's the visible public self in the mirror, and it's got Johnny Depp there, and then him turning around with his darkened eyes is more of the, okay, this is my actual self, not the image that I can put out that's a bit fake. My actual self. That's a nice little bit of a visual metaphor.
He sees the world through the eyes of the Masons as Jack the Ripper. I don't know where he gets the name.
It would have been far too much cheap whiskey. I mean, wouldn't have been anything good, I'm afraid. Just standard stuff. I was not refined when I was enjoying this at, gosh, I don't know, 18 or 19. It's a long time ago. But I just remember it not really understanding how it got to its ending, because we kind of go on a mad spiral at this point.
Well, yeah, so, this William Gull then says his line, or, I'll bring Britain into the 20th century, or whatever he says, which doesn't make any goddamn sense. So what do you mean? What the hell does that mean?
Well, if you read the graphic novel, that line makes a lot of sense.
Well, because there's like predictions of mass killings or something. Is that what they go for?
It's way too complex to get into. Guys, if you leave with anything, read the graphic novel. It's astounding.
Right. Okay. But yeah, I really want to talk about this next bit though. When he gets, he's like, so he pulls a gun out after he says that. It's like, oh, you'll never see the 20th century, mate, and then just instantly gets knocked out.
Yes, I
behind.
knew you would be annoyed by this.
This whole next few minutes is just ridiculous. So yeah, where the hell does that guy come from?
Do you know those breakdowns of Iron Man 2 of Black Widow going through the corridors, like beating everyone up, and someone just takes time to replay it and think, okay, this guy would have just been standing against this flat wall.
Yeah.
And just he isn't pouncing out of, why is he just standing there, etc.
Yeah.
And you have that kind of logic of that guy had to be in the room directly to the side.
And he's clearly not there, and there's just a wide open space with, there might be a door, but still, he doesn't have time to do what he does, which is literally teleport next to him and get hit in the back of the head. But this isn't, kid. So this isn't the worst part of these 3 minutes. So yeah, he gets kidnapped and put in a coach, and I think he's in a separate one to William Gull.
He is.
Yeah, so he's there. Two guys either side of him. One's the doctor who did the lobotomy before. He tries to inject him with some sort of sedative, and he just, he gets headbutt. His head goes into the window, and he's knocked out / dead. That's fine. That's probably the only fine bit of this. Because he's then, Abeline's then in a struggle with the other henchman guy. And the way he gets him is just, there's a bit of a struggle, not much is going on. He manages to get his foot under him and kick him out the window, which completely breaks the glass. And you can clearly see where the window he's been knocked out from is. So it's about 5 feet away from the wheel. And then the next scene, it's just, he's in the next window and his head's getting properly slapped by the wheel, and it's just going bloody and he's dying. And I'm like, okay, that's really weird. And then, for no reason at all, the carriage hits a curb and just capsizes. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And that's when, he just comes out the side, and the coach driver's just, he's off. The horses dragged this thing away for a couple of streets. And I'm just like, what? It was one of the worst written action scenes I think we've gone through.
And it was just, again, I feel like this was possibly just for the trailer. It felt so randomly thrown in, and I mean, yeah, from this point on, the film is just deciding to go completely. It's jumping
nuts.
every shark it can find.
Yeah, like this scene was just beyond ridiculous. I don't know why whoever was writing this choreography wasn't asked what is going on
or what they were smoking.
Yeah, exactly.
The idea is, I think we're going to have to go back again and again to just people probably in the studio wanted to make this more conventional. Guys, he can't just sit at a desk and get report from Bobbies. He has to be at the scenes. Guys, come on. He has to confront the villain, and there has to be an action scene.
Yeah. It's just... Because it's, you know, there's bits in the Sherlock Holmes film with Robert Downey Jr. where he's captured, and, you know, you go through each bit of the choreography. They're so obvious about it. It's like, oh, discombobulate. Stuff like that. And this one, it's just, yeah. You know, he headbutts a guy into the window. All right, fair enough. Oh, he kicks the other guy out the window. Okay, well, how do we actually get rid of him? Oh, just have the wheel slap him. Oh, the wheel's too far away. Move him over magically. He'll be fine. No. Okay, well, how does he get out of the coach? Oh, he hits a curb. What?
I think it's Mr. Kidney's face smacks into the wheel so much that it takes the wheel off.
I'm not having that. The wheel doesn't move.
It's BS because we need an action scene for the trailer, because Abeline has to be basically an action star in this. That's the ish.
Yeah. Yeah. So then we then.
But he can't get to actually intervene where he needs to.
No, because we've got the Ripper killing who we think is Mary Kelly, and I do have an issue with this as well because spoilers, it's not Mary Kelly. Yeah. So what? So he must know who he's got to kill, right? Because it's like, oh, we've got to get these 5 or so prostitutes that were that witnessed the ceremony or whatever. I'm not being funny. Mary Kelly's the only ginger one there, and that's the only one he hasn't killed. So he knows he's looking for a ginger woman, and if he doesn't, what the hell? And he basically kills the Belgian girl by mistake instead. She's got like this blonde fair hair. You can't confuse them.
Yeah, I'm also not a big fan of the... Oh, guys, don't worry. A different woman got eviscerated.
Yes, it doesn't matter. She was Belgian.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, thank
Which
goodness.
is very based, but...
It was just the East French getting murked here, so...
Oh, God, yeah, and the way he kills her as well, he just kind of sits on the side of the bed, has a moment to himself, and then he starts strangling her, which wakes her up. It's like she's asleep. Just slit her throat, and she won't...
Yeah, it's worked for everyone else.
They were stuck with the history, you know, but also, you know, it's built up. It's gorgeous. Look at this gorgeous framing.
It's off with it. Like, yeah, it looks good, I know. The plot's bad. We need a bitch.
What waifu? You got a little bit of Nosferatu vibes from one of the shots.
Yeah, I think because I hadn't actually realised that he was sticking his hand through the window to open the door. For a second, it looked like it was just a shadow being cast, and then the door opened. I think probably watching it back, I would see that it was an actual hand.
Yeah, it's a gloved hand.
Yeah, but for a second, it did look a bit Nosferatu, which was quite nice.
Oh yeah, I like that touch. I thought it was good. And we're thoroughly in the mind space of the mind space of Gull at this point. Like, he's coming unhinged, doing all of this, but I can't say him being able to switch it on and off is a bit, you know.
Well, it's weird. Dodge. Yeah, because what triggers this is he takes out a heart, and then he puts it in the kettle, and he's like explaining. It's like explaining what a heart is while he's doing it. He basically thinks he's in an operating theatre and starting to cook the heart, throws him into the operating theatre, and it's like, why? And then he's clapped for his work, and the guy's just unhinged. I get it. I'm just not interested though at this point anyway, because the plot's all over the place. there's like 3 interesting characters at this point. And
You
none of them
also
are the main
haven't
ones.
had like 5 chapters going deep into what he thinks he's doing and why.
Yeah, he just thinks he's doing rituals basically, and it's like, oh, cool. Okay, well, why is he in an operating theatre then, not a ritual hall? Yeah, and yeah,
And I
Aveline's.
find it impressive, but it's wonderfully foul gore, and they don't focus on it long. I think partly because they wanted to keep up the ruse that it was Mary Kelly, but also I think they were really trying hard to skirt the NC-17 rating.
Yeah.
It kind of works for me, to be honest. It kind of works. I don't know if I really want to see extreme close-ups.
Oh no, no. This that's about as much you ever see of Mary Kelly, and I think there's one bit in one of Aveline's visions where he kind of sees. You do get quite a just full body shot of it, but it's on screen for like 2 frames or something.
Yeah, I wouldn't advise going for those frames. They did build a very convincing, detailed prop. Basically, it's quite disgusting. It's
good. They clearly had the reference image.
If anyone has seen The Fly, it's very much in line with some of the early experiments from that. But I know Harry and you won't. You seen The Fly?
No.
We'll 80s sci-fi horror. We'll do it.
Nice.
We're also the film, after that carriage chase is firmly in the realm of not caring. You can just assault the head of the police. Sorry, he's not the head of the police, but he's Sir Charles Warren. He's a knight of the realm. You can just strangle him.
I thought this was really weird. It's just got a load of coppers about, and none of them are trying to intervene here. It's just Hagrid again, just stop it, sir. It's not worth it. It's like, oh, don't go in there. You don't need to see that she's been killed. And then, almost evilly, Sir whatever he's called, he's like, oh, go in, have a look. It's like he's almost evil at that point. So it's like, well, I don't blame him for trying to strangle him, but he is properly trying to kill him.
They massacre 5 people, lobotomize a woman and kidnap a kid to hide the secret. But this guy who now has all the information behind the conspiracy, no, let's promote him.
Yeah.
What? Why? Oh dear.
Yeah,
the film doesn't care at this point, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh.
Poor Robbie Coltrane.
Yeah, and then when Aveline's inspecting the body, he picks up some of the hair, and they're like, "Oh, what's the matter? Like, she finds something?" He's just like, "Nah," but it's clearly blonde hair. Which again, how does Jack the Ripper f this up? Given he's so meticulous with everything else, it's the only one with red hair.
He had one job, and that was to keep ripping whores until he did get buckled.
Exactly.
I was so annoyed that they didn't include that the Dear Boss letter as well.
Yeah.
It's such a creepy letter.
Yeah.
You have the weird thing of you get the photographers in to take the shot of the body, and there's kind of a cool point earlier with the graffiti of the Jews are the men who will not be blamed for nothing. They're about to take a photo now. I was about to go, no, hang on, no photos exist of that. And then they did have Sir Charles Warren shut it down. So I was like, oh, okay, good. But obviously we do have photos of Mary Kelly's body. They are horrific.
Don't go search them.
Cannot recommend. But they have the chap on the scene reading off the notes at the time when he's describing the body and taking notes of the scene. So they wanted the historical accuracy then, but then they'll also throw in things like Aveline just assaulting Sir Charles Warren and it being absolutely fine.
Yeah, I mean, the day boss thing really doesn't work in this story.
Joshua Chandler, was it in there? It might be. It might be in there. It's a shame. I know the authenticity.
They even have the handwriting.
Yeah, I know the authenticity of it is in doubt, But
Still creepy.
the prose of it, I really like. It's a little bit of I don't want to say a favourite really, but sorry, go ahead, waifu.
Yeah, so they had the so they briefly brought in the From Hell letter, and they did kind of vaguely dwell on it a bit, but it's just like it felt to me like they really massively glossed over the whole. Yes, we've delivered you half a kidney as well. They went, oh, there's a kidney. Anyway, back to your work.
Yes, this letter is the weirder thing. Did they even mention the kidney? I don't remember.
They had it in a box, but everyone went, oh, that's gross, and then just sort of carried on.
I think it's more like they needed it to get stuff going, basically. They didn't do much with it because they're kind of racing through the historical events.
People are so weird in this film.
Well, what can you say? They're rushing it, basically. They're rushing it. And we have the fate of Sir William Gull.
Oh, yeah, he gets lobotomized for what he did, basically.
Again, this has potential. I think it's grim. I think Ian Holm does sell this. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
This is a fitting epilogue. It's interesting that Aberline is sort of brought on side to watch it as a sort of, it's like he's brought in on the secret and he's saying, yeah, fair play. It's weird that he just stops and decides like, okay, that's enough justice for me.
Yeah.
It's a pretty horrible fate for Gull.
Yeah, I think that in many ways the lobotomy scenes are the most unsettling.
Yeah.
Possibly because they avoided giving us too much gory detail of the murdered bodies, but yeah, it's just creepy.
If you can forgive a slightly bad taste pun, lobotomies are kind of an untapped goldmine of horror. They come in very rarely, but the few times I've seen them used, I thought they were extremely horrific and had great potential, like just this robbing of someone's humanity. The films I'm thinking of where it's featured, Sucker Punch, not strictly a horror, but effective. And then there's an interesting little found footage send up / meta film called Grave Encounters, which has some lobotomy stuff in there that's really quite nasty. Highly recommended I know found footage is not for everyone. It's very overdone because of how cheap it is to do found footage. And yes, every single one ends exactly the same way. You know what you're signing up for when you start. But Grave Encounters was actually very interesting because it's wrapped up in the package of them making one of those Most Haunted style reality shows. And so that
it's set in this asylum somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah. So they're having lots of fun with sort of showing those shows up as fake, and it gives them a good line. Alexa, there could be lobotomies in Hellraiser 2 Hellbound. I think Dr. Channard does do some kind of brain surgery, but I haven't seen the film in a while, so I can't remember clearly. It's possible. I mean, I always find that kind of depiction of people being robbed of their minds really creepy. In Buffy season 5, the victims of Glory really creep me out.
Oh yeah.
I find that very, very unsettling. So it's not a bad ending. And then we're getting ourselves well, it ends on a happy ending, a happy note after that at least. Because
they still
she's in Ireland.
Sorry,
on the coast.
Grim fact, they do still keep lobotomies available as an option for medical treatment.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, sleep well, everyone.
Yeah, we have a weird epilogue, I think, where Aberline has a chance to go and meet her because she's madly in love with him now.
For no reason.
For no reason. We've got to have a romance interest.
Yeah, I mean, I can just speed run this. Because who cares about the ending?
Basically, who cares about the ending? It's like, do you want to go and tap that redhead? No, I'll kill myself.
No, it does have. Well, no, I think he has good reason for it because he's told you'll be watched forevermore by the Masons. So he gets a letter that's from her, basically saying, "I'm okay. I'm in the coast with Alice, the daughter." So he burns that letter and he basically says, "Oh, well, I can't see you because I'm being watched." Then it's like, oh, a few months later, Gull gets lobotomized. He's in the insane asylum, and then what's he called? Hagrid basically says, "Oh, well, they're not watching you anymore. Why don't you go?" And he's like, "Oh, because if I change my routine, they'll follow me again." It's like,
yeah, I was not convinced that it seems to me like they've let him see the lobotomy of Gull. It seems to me that they're just saying, "Yeah, it's fine. It's all over." Like that's really what I got from that.
Well, yeah, I mean, are they really going to search for him if he leaves London to the countryside? He can fake his death. You could do a lot. But no, he just has an overdose instead. It's like, oh, great.
Yeah, it seems to me they've destroyed more than enough of the evidence that would cause trouble for them, and so it's, I don't know, a weird way to try and give it a tragic ending, and not veer. I mean, I would say try and not veer too far from the history, but with the depiction of Adeline, they clearly don't particularly care about that. So it just, I don't know, it seemed kind of arbitrary to me. I wasn't a fan. They wanted to give, I would guess they wanted to give Mary Kelly the ending that she has in the graphic novel, and so they had to keep Adeline away. But I know they did film a couple of alternative endings, I think including one where he does go to her. So
yeah, just with ridiculous how the plot is, just have the happy ending. Don't leave me depressed after that.
Can I chip in with some more lobotomy facts for everyone?
Yeah, why not? I'm up for some lobotomy facts. Go on.
In fact, Margate's got there just before me. They didn't perform, the first lobotomy wasn't performed in the UK until around the 1940s. And the guy who basically invented them as a sort of general technique won the Nobel Prize for them, I think, in 1949. And then it was later refined to the ice pick method. Any phrase that involves ice pick and neurosurgery is not a phrase I like. But yeah, so the ice pick method, which is essentially what you're seeing in this film, wasn't developed until later on. And they do it while you're conscious. They stick an ice pick in the corner of your eye and wiggle it about. And it can be used if you've got severely treatment-resistant OCD.
They just put a hook up your nose and let you keep the bit of brain they take out.
Essentially.
Oh, guys, would Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, count for another bit? It's not quite a lobotomy, but some of the principles.
God damn it, we need to stop this lobotomy talk.
All right, we'll move on from it. We'll move on from it. Okay. Well, that is the end of the film. So
yeah,
folks, get your scores in because we're going to do some roundup thoughts of it now that we've covered everything in From Hell.
God, was just
yeah.
This was something else.
It gave me a few scares. There were one or two bits. The double event worked for me. You know, that tension. I was liking Netley. I liked his journey, but I was struggling with just the madness of the rest of it.
Yeah, and as well, I didn't mention it while we were on the scenes, but when he's actually murdering, you get a lot of flashes of him like kind of stabbing a knife, and that's just a much better way to do that than what Whitechapel did, which was just play the same scene of him flashing and walking down the stairs like 10 times throughout the series, because it was unique each time. It showed, it was getting across how gruesome and horrifying it was.
Yeah, the less is more quality is there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it wasn't like so in your face about it. And yeah, as you say, the cinematography of this was good. The settings were good. The accents were much to be desired, but can't have everything.
You got so many
and
great British character actors just there watching a couple of Yanks destroy their accents.
I almost would have liked to see. I've now immediately forgotten his name. Day-Lewis. I would have loved to see Daniel Day-Lewis do this.
Well, yeah, and you need kind of the Victorian style mustache, don't you? Where it's you got the mustache and then the sideburns with
I think Mary Kelly would look great with a mustache.
Yeah, exactly. Because she couldn't have afforded to shave, so
We were bouncing around the idea that a lot of the problem here is just trying to tell a Ripper story where you don't have a definitive person to sort of name as the Ripper. And if you try and make it a police story, you run into the same problem you have in Zodiac, which, really, I think it worked, but it struggles when it can't, catch the killer and bring him to justice. So we're kind of talking about if you're trying to tell the Whitechapel Murders story, it's kind of better to make the women your protagonists. Because you get a very definite end to the story there. If you stick with the police, they were carrying on investigating it for several years after. And you've got the issue of actually, when do we say the canonical killings stop? It's you're not getting a sort of satisfactory endpoint. Whereas if you focus your film on the women, your film has a very strong ending.
Well, yeah, this is where the lodger works, isn't it? Because it's not, there's the police and the police detective's kind of a side character to the protagonist. I mean, the ending, as we say, was god awful, but you make a slight change to that, you actually make him the Ripper, and it's well, that's what the book did. the book, I imagine, is very good, and it does focus on the women. So.
Well, the book's fantastic. I mean, an approach like that where you focus on the women and it does become kind of more traditionally like a horror movie, whilst being worse because it's very much based in reality, or a kind of approach more like The Wire, more like more like David Simon takes in The Wire or The Corner, which is basically what From Hell did, which is actually let's really look at the whole of the society reacting to this and what went on after that. Because the police line is an incredibly incomplete part of the story that isn't ever going to have a good conclusion.
Sorry, I think it could have just been really compelling to have, or not leaving aside this film, which is garbage, a sort of mini series that follows the individual women, but also follows kind of what's happening both in the kind of police on the ground and at the higher levels, kind of society's response to it, and also like what Whitechapel is actually like at the time. Just could have been really, really interesting.
Yeah, the press, the vigilance committees would be really interesting. They're amazing. Like they're basically vigilante mobs set up to patrol the area for the Ripper, and settling a few scores themselves. Really interesting stuff. So I just sort of think there's so much in there. A series is probably the way to tell it.
Yeah.
And in a way, I felt like Whitechapel is not that much longer than this film, but I think it covered the events so much better.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. What's Ripper Street like?
Not about the Ripper, weirdly.
I think it's the aftermath, isn't it? Like one of the guys is someone who is investigating the Ripper.
Yeah, so it's got Matthew McFadden plays Abeline, and it's the kind of immediate aftermath of the sort of Ripper murders, and he's sort of still got to carry on policing in a completely lawless place.
The only thing I remember liking about it was like I think the second or third episode, He's got his strong man is Bronn from Game of Thrones.
Oh yes.
Oh,
And
amazing.
They have a gang of like street urchins, and so the finale of the episode is just Bronn smacking the crap out of a bunch of 9-year-olds.
Oh yeah.
And it's kind of like that thing of how many Elliot Pages could Haryan beat up. It's like that scene. Just Bronn yeeting kids left, right, and centre. It was amazing.
Oh God.
So all right,
Quite a lot of it's fun trash. I'd say Ripper Street is. It's good kind of. You've got home from work and you've got nothing else to do, so you're kind of watching it to pass the time.
Yeah.
That's how I came across it.
All right, folks. Let's round this off, possibly in time to please Super Nanny.
I haven't
Wholesome
given
Waifu, give me your closing thoughts and your score.
Closing thoughts. I think it was a really brilliant, compelling film. I thought the characters were really beautifully done, really in-depth analysis of what was happening, and just really insightful and moving, as well as being aesthetically beautiful, is what the film could have been. So I'm going to go with about 6 out of 12 if I'm being really generous, because it looked nice.
Mm-hmm.
But 6 out of 12 burgers with absolutely no cheese and possibly a bit of mouldy gherkin on the side for the accents.
Yeah. What's the main problem, Waifu? If you had to give it, what's the main problem?
Other than the accents, they tried to make it too much of a Hollywood narrative. They tried to create a protagonist and they picked the wrong one. And also, I feel like this bore so little relation to the graphic novel that they should have just done their own Ripper movie. If they wanted like a clairvoyant policeman, they should have done a clairvoyant policeman. Or they should have done From Hell, not mashed the two together. So it's just incoherent. Didn't do justice to the graphic novel and didn't really do justice to the murders. So it was fun, but crap. And I really wish I'd been drunk while watching it. It would have made it bearable.
Yeah. Debatable.
Okay, now, Haryan, if you give your closing thoughts and score.
Oh, God, it wasn't great. Everything good about this film is pretty much purely superficial, and there are some kind of neat bits in it as well. The story just goes around everywhere without really having a direction or a tone that it's keeping consistent with. Some of the characters were just utterly dislikable, and others were fairly likable at best. Yeah, as I say, not great. Time's just way too inconsistent for me to give this cheese, really. Didn't really make me laugh much at any point. Some of the horror scenes worked. Cinematography was good. Sets were good. Doesn't give plot, though, as I said at the beginning, was just one massive gaping plot hole. 4 out of 10, no cheese.
All right.
10, not even 12.
12, sorry. Yeah, 4 out of 12.
All right. Okay. Go ahead, Wholesome Waifu. Read the prediction for Haryan.
Prediction for Haryan. She sent me this at 7:48 p.m. Haryan did not like this film.
Hang on. In fairness, I sent this to TCG yesterday. So this wasn't just like written hastily.
On the phone.
Yeah.
It's a point of honor. Go ahead.
I beg your pardon. Haryan did not like this film. He was annoyed by the elements in the plot that don't go anywhere, e.g. the Nichols gang, threatening Sir Charles Warren in the open, John Merrick, and possibly notes the incorrect depiction of London, e.g. the Grand Masonic Temple being underground.
Oh, I forgot.
It was.
I forgot to mention that. I specifically got a shot because that annoyed me. Sorry, there's so much to
the Masonic Temple's like anyone could go see it.
I've been in there. It's got a great museum.
Oh, there you go.
Sorry.
Yeah.
He will complain about Liz Stride and Catherine Eddowes leaving their hiding place with Mary Kelly on the night of the double event. If Haryan doesn't complain about the love story or action elements added in, I will be very surprised. The gorgeous visuals will not sway him, and he may notice that Prague is standing in for London.
I didn't
He didn't find it scary either, but maybe winced at a few moments.
Yeah, you're pretty accurate with that.
Yeah, I don't think we didn't. There is so much wrong with this. Like, we didn't really cover the arbitrariness of Liz Stride. just running out to get. Well, she runs out after she can't feel up a Belgian, and she's like, "Fine, I'm going off to get some gin. I'll go for some Belgian. Heyo."
Oh.
But
no,
Catherine Eddowes afterwards doesn't have much motivation.
I mean, this is the thing. It's like the Ripper's just kind of out there waiting for it, as if how does he know she's going to turn up there? I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of this film was just, and now this happens.
She was more generous than you were, though. She thought you'd give it a 5 out of 12 with fake American cheese.
No, this didn't earn cheese. This wasn't even funny.
I thought you might have laughed at a few moments and said the accent were worth a bit of cheese. So okay.
Nah.
It wasn't too far off though. I'm only one burger out, so I can live with that. I can live with that. Okay. And for my closing thoughts, well, this it's not terrible. It's not boring. You can, some of the scenes may drag a tiny bit. I'm thinking specifically of the Johnny Depp getting high scenes, but I wasn't ever bored, and it looks gorgeous. There's a really great cast. It's just the problem is the script here. These directors could make a beautiful movie. Well, they did make a beautiful movie. They just need the script to make it work. So much of this that's gone wrong is trying to do a very straightforward adaptation of a really tough meta text, and then try and make it as traditional as possible with a hero lead, which does not exist in the story. So that's where it's gone wrong.
Yeah.
It's probably not going to do much in the way of deep scares. You might get a jump scare or two, and it's got a potential to do some nice unsettling stuff, but I think it kind of bungles that because of how mixed up the tone is. So I'd kind of go with the analysis that it's you called it a wild gay romp, because that was the perfect description.
I don't know. It's a bit gay. It's not that gay.
I don't think I got Fez's up earlier. Sorry, Fez. There we go. Alexa had it. It's a gay romp through Victorian London. Yes. Don't take it very seriously, guys. In a weird way, I'd kind of still recommend it. It's fun. Just don't take it seriously.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with that. I mean, I know I gave it a 4, but I'd give The Room a 1 out of 10. It's 1 out of 12. It's still worth watching. Still fun.
Kudos. Basically, your big problem is: do you get bored? Didn't get bored. This kept moving. I was frustrated repeatedly, but I was never bored.
Yeah, but again, like, you can have a machine that's just constantly slapping you in the face. You wouldn't get bored of that. So
I see you've been to Eton.
Well, yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, that I believe is us all covered on From Hell and the end of the Jack the Ripper arc. Now, remember the way we do things. We do 3 films in an arc, and to give back to the community, we go for an audience choice. So what I'd like you to do, you can do it in the live chat now, or you can do it in the comments of this video if you're on the rewatch. Put forward some suggestions for a film you would like to watch us in the audience choice next week. I know we've got a few regulars who've been trying to get some of their favourites in. I think Burnt Offerings has been suggested a few times, so I might have to put that in there. Put that in. We'll do a quick poll around on my Twitter, and as I now have a community tab, I can probably do a poll. Yeah, I can do a poll for that on my community tab. So hopefully I won't mess that up. Alexa, did you suggest The Devils last week? I think you might have. I'm sure I saw The Devils suggested recently. Anyway.
Obviously, this is the best one.
Oh my. Okay. I've seen them come in. So get your suggestions in. We'll do a prompt vote, and I'll get you results before the weekend so that we know what to be watching. And Also, Halloween recommendations are good as well. I haven't locked down my order yet, but I've got a video that's going to be coming out on suggested film lists for Halloween night, and I'm going to get the final part of my review of Midnight Mass, so review of the finale and overall thoughts. I'm going to try and get that out this weekend.
Yeah, I've heard the last episode's a big oof, basically.
Long story short, I think the story is largely lands. That there are a few big. Well, there are some issues I had, but they weren't as big as the issues I had with Bly Manor. But I'd say it's the theme where it absolutely screws the pooch and kicks it down the stairs. Thematically, I was very displeased, basically. But I will cover that in my video. Haryan,
yes.
Have you got anything to shill, sir?
A couple of things. Laughing at the Guardian was last Saturday. That was very good. We had Powell, Rubber, and Rosa Dawn on. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of talk of trans issues and a lot of laughing at idiots who write for the Guardian. Also did a video today on a reaction to an MP being killed in a terrorist incident that had nothing to do with any sort of online anonymity. It means that a load of MPs are like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we stopped letting people be anonymous online? Which I think everyone on this panel is like, no.
No, it wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's weird how this thing
not.
is. It's weird how this thing is the perfect thing to prompt to push an agenda they've been trying to get for years and years.
Yeah, exactly. They've just basically made it about all the MPs that are alive, because the one that died had nothing to do with anonymous accounts online, especially on Twitter and Facebook. So I had that, and then I also have another published article for the Wellington Project, again about online activity, where I talk about the law has basically made it that it is a right to completely ignore block buttons on Twitter and Facebook. Because instead of doing that, we've got policemen being hired to literally scourge through Twitter and Facebook to see if someone made a racially charged joke about a footballer. Like that's a real thing that happened. The guy got 8 weeks in prison and got £1,000 and more in fines and court costs.
I do love how we got a week of stories about the nasty comments after the World Cup, and nothing whatsoever on hordes of leftist accounts mocking the death as it happened.
No, there was a few tweets that I found of people just being complete C words, but this is what I go over in the article. If you're an account that's generally posting out high status opinions, you'll be protected. If it's low status opinions, you go to court. Or low status insults, I should say. So gammon is a high status insult. People like Owen Jones and people who are, part of that whole culture are high status, and so they don't get in trouble for that. And they can even say that an obviously racist thing like calling someone a gammon isn't racist. So yeah, it just goes a bit into that. So I mean, I'm giving away the whole article here. Go read it. wellingtonproject.co.uk.
Nice.
It's the latest article.
Nice. And well, I know you don't have the podcast out yet, Wholesome Waifu, but if there's anything you'd like to say at the end?
No.
All right, well, thank you. Very concise. Thank you very much for coming on. We are alarmingly close to being on time. So darn close. I mean, we haven't quite escaped the wrath of the Super Nanny, but I'm so pleased with this one. I'm bringing this one back a bunch. This is my favourite one. I think we have got everything covered. I'd like to thank the chat for being there, being nice and lively, keeping it entertaining. It's always much more fun with you guys here, adding your insights, especially some interesting distilling facts and lobotomy facts. I was impressed, guys. And thank you to Haryan and Wholesome Waifu for stopping me from talking to myself. No, you were great.
Congratulations again on 1,000.
Oh, thank you very much. I mean, you know what? Renewed thanks to everyone who liked and shared. You know, I know we have to do the thing, but if you shared my videos around, I know a bunch of you have. Really appreciate it. Organic promotion is not a thing, so it's you guys sharing the videos, spreading the good word, and saying that this channel is something worth checking out. You're the guys helping me get there, so thank you so much. I will sign off. I will sign off now. That is, I think, everything, and I'm going to meet Haryan this weekend and give him a Dutch rub. Thanks, y'all.
What the fuck is that?
A nuggie.
Oh, right.
Do they not call it nuggies anymore?
Yeah, they don't call it Dutch hugs.
A Dutch rub. A Dutch rub.
Yeah.
Martin, may I remind you that you're married?
What?
It sounds
weak 90s logic.
All right. I was thinking Dutch oven.
Yeah,
at first.
Oh, no, nothing seedy, nothing seedy. All right, folks, we'll leave it off there. Thanks, y'all.
On that note.
Cheers.